Misses. Sohan beats Samba for the deuce.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Mills with time. Scrambling right. Throws on the run. And it is caught. Oh, what a catch. Chris Moore. And he will go.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Jeremy Sohan, the freshman from England. Brown gets a three.
I almost think Kendall Brown should shoot that ball more.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Akinjo with Walker on it. Akinjo, pull up. Got it.
Man, how about that?
Huge shot.
Woo. Gotta go.
Likely the heat. Wow, and Baylor escapes with a win. What a win for the Baylor Bears.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, you heard the highlights last night, ESPN, Big Monday, Baylor in Stillwater, and still down players. Obviously, Jonathan Chamachachwa gone. LJ Cryer did not play again. Of course, it's been more often than not. Played a little bit Wednesday in Lubbock. Obviously the injuries that they've suffered. And Adam Flagler, who's been nursing a knee injury, was a man last night. And then again, James Akinjo, who can put you on blood pressure medicine like Matthew Meyer, when it counted, despite a very bad night for him offensively, he was incredible. Not incredible. He was fantastic and clutch in overtime. Baylor with a gutty win. There's games tonight. We'll get to that. We will hear from Baylor men's assistant coach John Jakus here in just a minute. Also, Lovie Smith today from the Houston Texans, and also Mac Rhodes.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sustainable that you have to get all your points out of one guard position like they did last night with Adam Flagler, and I guess a little bit from Matthew Meyer had 13 points or whatever he had, but that he's kind of different. But from those three guys, if you're not going to have LJ Cryer and you're just going to have Flagler and Akinjo can't have too many more nights like that, and he's had a couple, and I get that he's banged up and he's playing through some stuff, but they can't go. The advantage was playing against Oklahoma State, who's the worst team in the league, but still very tough, and they got tough guys on their team. They're not playing for anything, unfortunately, because the NCAA screwed them. But you can't do that against Kansas.
Is there really a worse team in this league? Yeah, I know what you mean. They're at the bottom, and they're playing for nothing, unfortunately. That's what makes it so impressive that they continue to play the way they do. But he made the shot that won the game, made a shot that gave him the lead, also involved in the assist in overtime. He was a part of any points that Baylor scored, whether as a distributor or a shooter. And he didn't have a big night, Craig, but he came up when they needed him because he was not having the best of nights. In fact, did not score from the field in regulation.
Yeah, it was a really nice win, tough win, and glad to see them get that. They needed it badly, and, I don't know about all the talk and, Akinjo this, Akinjo that. I mean, he made the game-winning shot. That's all I really care about, honestly. Good for him. If people want to focus on his struggles, that's fine, but I don't know that the timing right now is the best to do it when I understand the game that he had, but let's celebrate him for 5 seconds before we go back to critiquing him. Is that okay? I mean, I've heard so much criticism about him the last couple of weeks, and yet here they are. They're the top 10 team in the country. They're second place in the Big 12. They've got an opportunity to put themselves in the driver's seat this weekend. So, it's the price you pay when you win a national title is all of a sudden perfection's the goal, right? And it's the top level or bust. And I think that's kind of where they find themselves, and the fan base finds themselves this year where, I think people need to maybe remind themselves of the journey and the moments and what it takes to get there. I don't know what the end goal is for this team, but that end goal is more intact as of that win last night than it would have been had they lost that game. That would have been a brutal, brutal loss had they dropped that one. So, yeah, glad to see them get that win. Glad to see Akinjo have that moment. And yeah, there's a lot that needs to get better. There's mostly a lot that needs to get healthier, but there's no guarantee that that's going to happen at this point. So it is what it is, and good win by the Baylor men.
And Baylor scored 6 points to 4 of Oklahoma State at overtime because there were some missed shots, great defense at times, and sloppiness. But he had the assist in overtime and then also scored the 2 shots that mattered, gave him the lead, and then also gave him the lead for good as well. To put things in perspective, and sometimes it's difficult or people do forget because last year's team was basically almost pimple-free, how good they were other than coming out of COVID. And not only were they good by winning the national championship, they dominated most everybody they played with a hickey or two along the way. Baylor is 21-5 now in 19 years under Scott Drew in overtime. 21-5. They've won 7 consecutive games in a place in which they were once 3-24. 7 straight games now they've won in Stillwater. Oklahoma State did have the nice win in Waco earlier. Baylor now in 2 years, 51-7, 77-11 over the last 3 years. Now, Kansas right now is better. They're atop the standings. Texas Tech is better. They swept Baylor right there underneath Kansas. There's no question. But you put those numbers in perspective. It's not like they were 51-0 and they've lost 7 games this year. 77-11 in the last 3 years. A national title, what could have been won the year before, and they're still more than alive with what they're doing right now.
Yeah, they're still trying to find who they are post tragic injury to one of their best players. One of the guys who is one of the only guys who is the only guy on the roster who does what he does. So you have to reinvent who you are, and they've done it well, particularly the last 2 games, figuring out who they are without Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua, and that's going to be interesting going into Kansas and seeing what happens there. There's talk that Remy Martin might play, so that's maybe some more depth that Kansas has that Baylor will not. And how do they play, with a shorter rotation than pretty much everybody else they're going to play down the stretch?
Here are minutes played in the last 2 games for a team that's undermanned. Flo Thamba has played 63 minutes in 2 games. Kendall Brown, the freshman, 66. Jeremy Sohan, the freshman, 66. Dale Bonner played 37 minutes last night, 50 in 2 games. Matthew Meyer was, I think, kind of under the weather, has 52 minutes. And then James Akinjo, 78 minutes. That's almost 2 full games. It's 80 minutes. Of course, this one went overtime. And then Adam Flagler last night, and I said this to you, Paul, in a text, kind of almost a legacy game. Sure, he was a part of some huge moments in the national championship run when they won it, but 41 minutes after not playing Saturday, nursing the knee, and he was as explosive as you could, well, he needed to be because of what we mentioned about what was missing with his 29 points, which is for him a career high, tying a career high. We'll have John Jakus here in about 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, and you could tell he was getting gas at the end of that game, and rightfully so. When he missed that open kind of under the basket finger roll he had there, I thought, oh, that might have been his injury, but energy, but he played through it all and was really, really good the entire night. And I'm impressed with James Akinjo. I think the biggest thing you got to be impressed with James Akinjo is he can have a night like that where he was not affecting the game in a positive way in what he would normally say, this is my kind of night. But he didn't stop. He wasn't discouraged. It was just like, I'm just going to keep chopping wood, and eventually it's going to go. And then he also, he needed to maybe shoot a little bit more than he did to get out of the funk. I would have liked to see, but he also knew that, maybe right now is not the time for me.
He was 2 of 9 shooting from the field overall. But the bottom line, as Craig mentioned, when they needed him to make shots, he made 2 clutch shots. Finished with 6 points, also had 4 steals, had 3 turnovers, I think most of those in the first half, and then also had a couple of rebounds. The 2 young freshmen continue to put together some interesting numbers kind of across the board, but those are the minutes played. They have now 4 days to rest their legs, practice, tweak things, and then Kansas on Saturday night, which is a late game, a 7 o'clock game. So really almost 5 days after a late night trip back from Stillwater.
With College Game Day.
With College Game Day, of course. Here's a picture. Armstrong, did you already show it? Here is a picture. You want to see what his teammates thought of James Akinjo when that game ended? Look at that. That's Flagler on the right, of course, over what is James Akinjo's left shoulder, who had the big night. Kendall Brown, the freshman. Matthew Meyer behind him. I think that might be Bonner, not sure, or even Flo. And then, of course, another player who's on the bench as well. I mean, look at that's that's part of it. And as the coaches say, that's that culture of joy. Any team would, of course, have that kind of expression. But look at Akinjo, kind of like, yes. And that's a big moment for Baylor as they now go to 22, 23-5 on the year. Well,
maybe personal touch is not his love language.
Yeah,
it's not what it is.
Hey, get your hands off me.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's a nice win after Oklahoma State had beaten Baylor in what was the worst loss of the year. Not they've been beaten up, but that loss against Oklahoma State at home was still one you were like, what the hell happened?
That is also a fantastic picture of Kendall Brown's hair, I got to say.
Yeah.
Everything he's going for with that style just pops in that picture.
Yep, absolutely. Tonight, Oklahoma is in Lubbock to take on Texas Tech and that incredible crowd. OU right now, next to the last in the Big 12, just ahead of West Virginia, who lost again to TCU last night. And then Kansas State, Kansas. Remember, Kansas State led Kansas big at halftime when they met in Manhattan, and then Kansas came back and beat Kansas State at home. Tomorrow, it's TCU at Texas, and West Virginia plays at Iowa State. When we come back, John Jakus, Baylor assistant coach, there's some things to get to, more on the Michigan-Wisconsin aftermath of suspension. Lovie Smith, head coach of the Houston Texans, will join us today at 5. Craig's off the radar, and Paul's top 5 as well. Jack McKenzie, Armstrong Sims, David Smoak, Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Pioneer still in pipe since 1943. I have said this before. That in itself, a business that's been in business since 1943, 79 years. And they continue to grow. The brand new facility that's going up is a monstrous structure that will only help them with their distribution and also having even more product available, which is what they've done now since 1943. And on top of that, that will allow them to not lose sight of what matters, and that is customer service. Customer service, great product. What else do you need? That's why you can stay in business for nearly 8 decades. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with heavy metal and steel pipe, and of course, they are specialists when it comes to metal buildings, not only with the supplies you need, the product you need, but also the expertise that you need as well. Pioneer Steel and Pipe since 1943, online at pioneerboys.com, and locations in Waco and Bryan.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Save big during the President's Day sales event at Allen Samuels. The new 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee L has total values of $2,000. For all first responders, get an extra $500. Shop the new car inventory for power, performance, style, and reliability today from their huge new car and truck inventory only at Allen Samuels in Waco. Now's the time to drive the amazing Jeep Grand Cherokee L you want.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
John Jakus, a part of the Baylor men's basketball staff under Scott Drew. We have had John on the show many times. We appreciate the amazing access we get with the assistant coaches when they join the show throughout the year. And John joins us now with Craig Paul, David Smoak. Can you try to put into words, or can you, what you have seen this team, this program, the staff, the players do in the last couple of games shorthanded?
Yeah, I don't know if I can put it into words. How you guys doing? Thanks
Good.
for having me.
You too.
And appreciate all you do for us. And I think the last, 4 or 5 weeks is this weird thing that's happened to us. And when I say happened to us, it feels like that's the case because of the injuries. Sometimes in sports you do things to yourself. Sometimes you can self-implode. Sometimes circumstances of sports you can get cold or lose games. But this is just odd, horrible things that have happened to our guys. And whether it's John's injury or LJ's lingering injury or Adam being in and out or James and Jeremy's injuries, it just seems like they've stacked on top of each other. So I don't know if I have a perfect word for it. We're not thrilled about it, but I do think you can see inside of that downturn of injuries and troubles that our guys have gone through, and there's a toughness in our program. And I think people know us for joy, but I hope in the last month they know us for some grit. And we're proud of our guys, and we want them to be healthy, but above all, we want to be good men. And they've learned to do that in the last couple of weeks, so we're thankful for that.
Grit is a great word to describe what you guys especially did last night, particularly from James's point of view, in that, was ice cold shooting, but you wouldn't have known it by the way that he was continually attacking offensively and trying to create and do the things he was. Where does his steadiness come from? Because a lot of guys, if it's not going their way, don't know how to swim out of the riptide, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's great that he ended the game in overtime, either scoring or assisting on every basket. And I think that he'd tell you prior to that he didn't play very good. But there's got to be a mental belief in an athlete. You can coach kids, but at a certain point, when in the middle of that kind of overtime game on national TV and it's Big Monday and they know they're not playing well, I mean, we can say things to him, but he's got to kind of get himself out of that himself. And self-belief is a powerful thing. And I think James's self-belief has just come from the fact that, one, he's been a pretty good player for a really long time. You're not ranked in the top 100 in high school. You're not first team All Pac-12 last year. He was middle of the season first team All American on Sporting News this year. And then the injuries happened and he's had some moments. But when you're in those moments, you got to look back at your prior success and believe in yourself. And James did that last night. And the other thing I think we'll say is Adam played out of his mind last night. And in those moments, he trusted James. And I don't think there's any replacement for when your teammate trusts you. And when someone has 29 points and they're saying, no, it's your turn, even after you played poorly, that's significant. That's good for us. It's good for our locker room. And hopefully it's good for the team over the next few weeks. But James did a great job down the stretch.
John, you kind of mentioned it there with Adam Flagler, but a huge night last night for him. Obviously, he's still not 100%. I mean, it's kind of just the theme of the team right now, but what kind of toughness did he show you guys in going through what he went through or what he's been going through, but then putting on the performance he did last night and just gutting it out?
Yeah, we're thrilled for him. There's these times where you live in a training room, and I don't think people fully understand what it means to be in a training room for 4 hours a day. And you're just doing all this because you love the game and because your whole life, this is the thing that you feel like you're gifted to do. God's gifted you to do this thing, and yet you can't do it. And when you do it, you're not even doing it at full strength. And you're just sitting on your phone, or you're watching Netflix on your phone, or you're watching sports on the TV, but you're in the training room all day long. And then you get to come out and do what you love. And I think last night is maybe the first time in a month that Adams felt some freedom from his injury deal, not just physically, but mentally. And then he saw the first few go in, and then he just went off. And we've known all along that Adam's that good, and he's one of the 10 best players in our league. There's no doubt about that. But sometimes the physicals just got to clean up, and it seems like that has. And we hope that continues. But man, did he make big plays last night, and we're happy for him.
John, how difficult, besides the obvious, when you don't know who's available on game night? That's one thing, because there are game time decisions. Or you might say somebody after a shoot-around looks good, and then by the time you play 5, 6, 8 hours later, it's not. But what about the practice grind? Because you're not just missing a couple of guys that play a lot, but you're also missing others who would otherwise be a part of the bench. How difficult has that been to stay sharp?
Yeah, I don't know that we get a choice in that. The great thing about you guys is because you're around, and I think you feel the weight of that. And you guys do media, and you know Scott, and you get to ask questions, and you know that sometimes we're making a decision on whether a player is going to play or not the morning of a game or at shoot around, and that we're waiting till the last minute because we want to hold on to this hope. And it's not just the kids in the games, but the practice time is real. And this time of year, when really our practice is the game, if that makes sense. I mean, our time to play together often has been while we're playing in the game. And so you're adjusting to things that you wouldn't prefer to do. You see us go zone last night. That was a great call. To go zone, it changed the game. And, Coach Tang and his scout made that adjustment. And I thought that was wonderful. But that's not something that we've even practiced extensively because we haven't had a chance to practice. So the overall mental toughness and the job that Scott is currently doing is unbelievable. And listen, he was National Coach of the Year last year. We won a national championship. We were pretty good at basketball. But watching him daily maneuver through this thing as more than just a coach, but a leader, and then watching our leaders like Adam, James, and Flo and the older guys maneuver through this, and Matt, it's been really, really special. I know it's not what people want. They want us to go undefeated, but the value of that and the leadership in that has been unique and special. And so we're hoping to get some rest today and tomorrow, and then we're hoping to get 2 days of practice, which would be super unique for us prior to this Kansas game. And hopefully that'll pan out and we can stay healthy enough to get through those days.
Well, I know Big Monday it's like equally exciting and terrifying because it's great. It's a great showcase for your school. You're always the Big 12, there's very, very rarely a bad Big Monday game. So it's good all the way around in that regard, but it's bad because you have a 1 day turnaround from the last game you played. But on the other end, did this Big Monday kind of fall right where you needed one to if you had to pick it?
Yeah, it does a couple of things for you. We have 2 Big Mondays back to back, so we'll play at Texas next Monday. It kind of prepares you for the NCAA tournament if you let it, because in the NCAA tournament you're gonna show up, you're gonna play a game, then you're gonna do a scout in a hotel, and then you're gonna play your second round game, or you're gonna play your Elite Eight game. So you're kind of getting into this situation where you're in this every other day game when you get to the NCAA tournament. So in that case, the whole Saturday, Monday thing is actually really good for us scouting-wise, especially with counting on freshmen like we are with Jeremy and Kendall and new guys like Dale. So that's a blessing. But then if you can get 2-0 and get your 2 days off, I think what you're saying is that ends up being really beneficial. So because we won yesterday, you're able to kind of reset for a day, watch film, and then get ahead of schedule. So this felt perfect for our game on Saturday. We'll hopefully use the 4 days really wisely. But as much as we need to use those 4 days wisely, we also need to get used to the every other day thing by the time we get to the NCAA tournament.
John, you mentioned some of the younger guys or guys having to play more. What's that like having to balance that, and how do you feel those players have adjusted to being counted on more in this time?
Yeah, I would say that Kendall, Jeremy, and Dale are sophomores now. And I know Dale transferred in, so he's older, but, the freshmen they're sophomores. They don't get a choice. They have to play. In the last 3 games, they're playing around 30 minutes a game, and they're playing out of position. Jeremy's playing up at the 5. Kendall's played some 1. He's played some 4. When before Christmas, he was only a 3. So you see these young guys grow up really quickly. And there's moments like the game prior was maybe Jeremy's best game of the year. And then you see in Oak State, he's got to fight through some things. And at the end, if they can let that and we can let that be a positive, hopefully by the time we get to the tournament, the mileage and the minutes doubles down and they end up being older than they really are. Because both of them don't turn 19 till this summer. So they've been really special for us to kind of live in this top 10 program with this amount of pressure and log those minutes with such little practice time and get better while they go along. We're really thankful for them and the fact that they've been able to do that.
They have both played 66 minutes in the last 2 games. Akinjo, 78, and then Flo, that's 63 for him. And then Flagler had 41 last night, and heck, Bronner 50 and Meyer 52. Was Matt somewhat under the weather and gutted it out himself without us knowing anything about it?
No, I think we're always tired, though. I think the Saturday, Monday thing hits different people differently.
Right.
I think it comes down to matchups and fouls, scenarios, situations, when we do go zone, when we don't go zone. But at this point, it's all hands on deck, and everyone is playing. And I thought the depth of our team was our strength when we were playing 8 or 9, and we're 18-0 and all of that. And now I think the strength of our team is our heart. And those guys were exhausted last night.
Yeah.
You don't play Saturday, get on a plane, lay down all day, play Monday, and log that kind of minutes without having to really, really fight through some things. So you can't measure a man's heart, like the Rockets used to say, the heart of a champion, it's hard to measure. And last night there was probably 10 to 15 times they could have just quit, and they chose not to. So they deserve this rest, and we'll take it, and then hopefully we can go into Saturday refreshed.
Can you try to explain, because he probably doesn't get nearly enough time and doesn't want it, what Dave Snyder has been able to do during this time as well?
Yeah, that's a great question and a really kind question. And Scott Drew walked into the locker room after he was done with his media last night, and he looked Dave in the eye in front of the rest of the staff, and he said, "You were the MVP tonight." And I'd go a step farther. His wife is probably the MVP because the number of hours Dave has spent in that training room with our guys, not going home, see his young kids and sacrificing for the group as a whole has been really just unique. huge servant this last month, and hours upon hours helping our guys, and extra MRIs, extra X-rays, driving around back and forth from the hospital. He's been special. And Adam plays last night in part because of Dave's treatment and consistency in Adam's recovery. So we're really thankful for that. And it takes a village to raise young men, and our trainer's been part of that village. So Dave's done a great job.
John, I know y'all are getting plenty of Big Monday experience, but what's it like to have College Game Day coming back to Waco? How big is that for the program?
Oh, I think it's great. I think sometime in Scott Drew's future, he might be on that show full time. He knows how to light up the stage. Yeah. He's pretty good. And I think they love coming here because of the way the program from Mac Rhodes all the way through treats them, whether it's the Magnolia or the dinners or where they stop in. There's this whole thing that goes around game day. That's much bigger than just the game. And I think Baylor's done a good job of hosting that, but also being part of it. And if you're part of that in back-to-back years, it means your program's pretty special. And when you look at football game days and basketball game days, it just shows the health of our athletic department as a whole. So we're really thankful. It means you're inside the top 10 and you have a home game, and we have both those things against Kansas on Saturday. So hopefully that's a celebration for our guys, but more than anything, it's a celebration for Baylor athletics and the success that we found as a group.
John, if you don't mind, one more question on the freshmen, Sohan and Kendall Brown. They're not the ones, sure. They didn't stand up at some point in their life and said, I'm a one and done. I'm an NBA prospect. It's their talent. It's who they are. It's who they've competed against, who they've played for, and all the other. Are there times when it's almost, and they're both absolutely elite players, is that sometimes a burden when someone says you're could be a one and done or an NBA prospect coming out of high school?
Yeah, I think it is a burden. And if you're being fair, I think these kids are growing up in a time that was very different than when you and I grew up and played sports. And there's this social media thing that just exasperates and speeds up almost everything in life. And it makes it really hard to enjoy your process. And when you take that and then you just add one little phrase to it, one and done, you can just take that thing and shoot it through the roof times 100. And for them to kind of withstand and live in that and be as mature and as bought into Baylor as they have been is really special. And it shows some mental strength, and that same mental strength is why they'll probably make it in the NBA for a decade. Because so much about making the NBA isn't about the gifting of being one and done. It's about the mental strength to survive, what it means to be a professional athlete. And both those kids have that. And we want to serve our older guys. We want to serve our one and dones. We want to serve our walk-ons. Everybody's part of our family. But there is something unique about holding the weight of that phrase as a one and done kid.
Yep.
And if they play great at 14 points, they're heroes. If they don't, they're somehow failing. And you can't even open your own phone as a one and done kid and open Twitter with any kind of safe space without hearing both sides all year long. So it's a lot for them, but I think they've done a wonderful job. I think our staff would agree. And through all these injuries, one of the key reasons that we're still in the top 10 is because those two have delivered, and they chose Baylor, and we're really thankful for that. So we're going to try to enjoy these next 6 weeks and just not take anything for granted. And but they for sure have to live underneath that, and they've done it well.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time and access as we get throughout the year. Appreciate it. And get some rest.
Yeah, thank you very much. We'll see you guys Saturday.
John Jakus, assistant coach, Baylor men's basketball. And Dave Snyder, by the way, the trainer, who, as he mentioned, going back and forth between Scott and White and MRIs, back to the arena and practice facilities and offices and all that training room. And Baylor now Saturday night against Kansas. Tonight, as I mentioned, Oklahoma, who beat Tech earlier, will be in Lubbock against Texas Tech, and Kansas tonight at home against Kansas State.
Man, beating Tech and then having to go play that at home.
Oh, God. I saw a good feed, but back and forth, Mark Adams of Tech, because Oklahoma had really shot threes well in that win at home in Norman. And Mark Adams goes, it's 2-2, it's 2-2-2-2-2, whatever it is. And it's Tuesday. I think all threes should count just as twos. And then Porter Moser responded, I think they should count double. So that's pretty cool. And in this day and age, this week, when we've seen coaches get after each other, that those two could have that kind. I'll tell you what, I love Mike Boynton. I really like the guy. What he does at Oklahoma State, a team that has nothing but pride to play for, which should be enough. And the scholarship and all that, I get that. But, man, his team plays hard. And when Likely launched that three at the end of the game, in regulation, over the backboard, it went in, and then I didn't see the light go out until it was in the air, and then I realized his shot clock had gone off. And then he had the three at the end. It would have been only fitting for him to make that shot. But Baylor does survive and wins the game against a team that could have just, walked away at any time during this year. All right, when we come back, a couple of other notes. That Baylor game, that Baylor game at Frank Irwin Center on Monday is a sellout. I think there might be some mezzanine tickets, but it's been considered and announced as it was. Brian Davis, I think I saw him do that, announced that game on Monday of next week at the Irwin Center is a sellout, the last game at the Frank Irwin Center. Couple of notes. On a great story of a young man who had a chance to play varsity basketball after being the team manager. And an unbelievable story that reminds me of the one we had when we covered a Midway game earlier this year or last season. It's 3:35, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. Ashley, Carol, and Cheyenne, they run it. And they have unbelievable cigars. The greatest brands you could have, Padron and Cohiba, Rocky Patel, Arturo Fuente, Macanudo, Ashton, and more. 48-foot walk-in humidor, loaded with boxes and boxes and boxes of cigars. The other day I went by and I found myself with an entire box of Ashton cigars. And Carol and Ashley and Cheyenne understand the business. They know what the rising stars are, so to speak, when it comes to the gems in the cigar business. And on top of that, CBD products, including Vita Dreams that you take as a gummy to help you fall asleep easier and also get an extra 30, 45 minutes, an hour of sleep, and you don't toss and turn. Plus, they have all of what you need when it comes to smoking pipes and coffee beans. Don Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Town West Shopping Center off of Valley Mills in Waco.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McClain County Judge Campaign.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down cash or trade. TT and Electra, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Scott Bell is the college sports editor at the Dallas Morning News. Read his stuff for quite some time, or things that he has also done. He's also a Michigan man. And he also has a newsletter about Michigan athletics. And I noticed in his newsletter yesterday on Substack.com, it's scottbell.substack.com, that he had written an article post that Michigan-Wisconsin game, and he joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Now, Scott, I'll be transparent here. When I put up that you also covered Michigan or wrote about Michigan, a couple of the people in the section said, well, make sure you hold him accountable. They were not trying to question you, but the fact that you're Michigan through and through. What, in the end, did Michigan and the Big Ten and Wisconsin, did they get this right, first of all, as far as the post-game consequences, suspensions, et cetera?
I think so. For the most part, I think you can pick certain nits and say some people may have gotten off a little light. Some people that didn't get punished maybe should have gotten at least a slap on the wrist. But the fact of the matter is, this needed to be a situation where Juwan Howard walked away with far and away the biggest punishment, and that's what happened. I think there's enough nuance or sort of little instigations that happened elsewhere to where I think it's right not to have him lose his job over something like this. But the fact of the matter is, the incident is centering around Howard's actions for a reason, and he took what was a tense situation and a lot of verbal stuff, and he's the one that really escalated it to a physical thing, and that's where it kind of turned into a bit of a brawl with players throwing punches and things like that too.
Juwan Howard's fiery. I mean, there's no doubt about that. And, the last couple of weeks there have been, the series of incidences before, like the Maryland thing that happened and everything that kind of went into that. How much does Michigan need him to just take a step back and figure out how to rein that in and use that fire more positively?
Oh, I mean, it's crucial both for Michigan, but for Howard and his future as a coach too. I mean, the thing about this and it ending short of a firing is Michigan Athletic Director Ward Manuel, it basically has to sit down with him and say, okay, this is it. Like, this can't happen again. And if there's ever an incident that is even treading the line of something like this, like, you're done. And if you're done at Michigan, that's probably going to be a big aspect of his coaching career too. I mean, this is a guy who made his name in NBA assistant circles first with the Heat, and he has a lot of respect. I know a lot of people think of him as, okay, this is a former player, now he's going the coaching route, but he paid his dues on as an NBA assistant first, and he is very well regarded in coaching circles. But the fact of the matter is, no matter how much players respect him, no matter what his X's and O's acumen may be, you simply can't be in charge of a program and in charge of players of this age and act like that.
Scott, in terms of the on the field or on the court and the X's and O's, Michigan right now 14-11. They obviously had a really good year last year, but what's just kind of the consensus amongst Michigan faithful in terms of Howard through these first, I guess, 2+ seasons now and the direction of the basketball program?
Obviously, the season's been a bit of a speed bump, but the fact of the matter is, it's a year removed from Howard being AP National Coach of the Year and taking a team that was supposed to be a middle-of-the-road Big Ten team last year and give them an outright Big Ten title in a season where, a handful of teams were Ken Pom, top 15, top 20 people. The Big Ten didn't end up having a good showing in the NCAA tournament last season outside of Michigan making it to the Elite Eight. So it was a little bit disappointing, but Michigan had a very good season last season. Now this year it's been kind of the inverse. Most people expected them to win the Big Ten or be in contention for the Big Ten, and now they're the middling team. But prior to this incident, Michigan had sort of started turning things around. They had a really poor non-conference and a slow start to the conference season, but they picked up a really big win over Purdue a week ago, beat a ranked Iowa team earlier in the week, and we're sort of starting to work their way off the bubble. But now the talk has sort of shifted to off-court things, and obviously that's because of Michigan's own doing.
You know, you mentioned last year's run and also the award honor that he got, and then this year being obviously a disappointment. Do you think what happens Sunday, and he's a Michigan man, and I know what that means. I really do. I've had people tell me that have gone there, including you. But do you feel like that allows Michigan then, if they wanted to move on from him, to use this as the reason, to use his record as a reason, but this is the reason?
If a school was wanting to move on from someone, and we've seen this in football and in basketball, using incidents to show for a cause, so you're not going to be on the hook for paying a lot of salary, then I would think that this would rise to that level of there. But I also, there's no thought of Michigan wanting to replace Howard because of on-court performance, and I do think the off-the-court incident didn't rise enough to the level of removing him. So yes, in theory, this could be something that an administration would use to sort of save some money, but I don't think that's the situation in Ann Arbor.
Scott, there's a lot of things going on in college athletics as the Dallas Morning News college sports editor. The NIL, the transfer portal, the college football expansion, what we've seen the last year or two with COVID and all the things that are going on. How do you keep up with it all, with your role? And is it probably as busy or a whirlwind of time as you've seen?
Yeah, never a dull moment. In at times it can be a little bit of a challenge because of finite resources and lots of stories, angles, and things to chase. But I love it. It's especially being in DFW, being in Texas. It's really the epicenter of. Obviously, it's always been a football area, but this is where a lot of the movers and shakers are in terms of the NIL and the conference realignment and stuff like that. And right now, basketball. I mean, we're obviously all things Baylor. You got Texas Tech. You got Texas, and everything happened in the Big 12. But even SMU, right in Dallas's backyard, on the bubble, and there's really never a shortage of things to chase and stories to tell, and just really fortunate to be in position to help try and tell those stories and be a part of a good team that has a lot of smart reporters doing our best to try and tell those stories.
All right, Scott, then let's fast forward to 2026. New TV deals are done. Everybody's getting their money. What's the playoff look like?
I think the 12 teams is where it eventually lands. Now, I know the SEC is now saying, well, we wanted to expand this time around, but next time around maybe we don't. But the fact of the matter is, I think long term it is going to be in everyone's best interest, for fans, for TV deals, for expansion, or the preservation of bowl games to sort of make it to 12 teams. So as of right now, if I was asked to say what's it going to be in 2026, I think 12 is a good number. I like the idea of rewarding some sort of buys to the top 4 teams. I guess with 12 teams, it would be 4 teams getting that buy, and I really like the idea of the system to where, okay, those first 4 teams are getting a bye, then 5 is going to play 12, 6 is going to play 11, 7 is going to play 10, 8 is going to play 9, but those higher seeds are going to get games on campus for that first round. Beyond that, I think you can still sort of get those neutral site games, get those bowl games, but what a great opening week of a playoff it would be to see 4 on-campus games with stakes that high. I'd love to see that, and I know a lot of things can change in 4 or 5 years, but sort of seems that's the way it's trending, or that it's the way a lot of people with influence are hoping that it tracks.
How impressed were you, or even were you surprised that after the Texas and Oklahoma story popped about the SEC, that I'm sure they thought that the Big 12 would implode, and that was the discussion, that maybe everybody just disappears, evaporates, and they could just walk into the SEC immediately. How quickly they were able to find a way to survive, and they're not stronger without those two, but they're sure a hell of a lot better off than I think most people thought in late July.
I completely agree, and it's obviously short of calling it being proactive, because it was in reaction to Texas and Oklahoma leaving. But after that, those departures happened. It was reactive, but at the same time, it was proactive in terms of taking the next step. And I give the Big 12 credit for knowing what was going to be coming next and seeing where all these dominoes would fall, and know that all these other conferences were going to be making moves too. So to act swiftly, and to try and do it with different factors in mind, in terms of expanding your footprint, getting bigger alumni networks in there, thinking about what your next TV deal is going to be, and things of that nature. So I think a lot of people thought that with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, there's always this talk about these 4 super conferences, and if the Big 12 gets their top dogs sort of poached, that maybe the Big 12 could be the conference that falls to the wayside. But I give those in charge at the Big 12 credit for acting swiftly, and so far it's been about as good as you can imagine, given all the circumstances.
Jim Harbaugh signed a new deal. He was flirting, we know that, and that happens. Coaches do that all the time. He's a Michigan man. Did he I mean, I would think after the year they had that Michigan fans would be happy, but is that one of those things, okay, that was fine, but don't do it again, we waited long enough for you to win?
Yeah, it's the uniqueness of that situation, and sort of just the awkwardness of it, especially on the heels of basically the exact opposite scenario happening last offseason, where Jim Harbaugh took a very public 50% pay cut and was basically dangled out publicly of, hey, are you going to be back? Are you going to be back? It's basically up to the school. Well, now Harbaugh had the leverage this offseason, and he hasn't really been apologetic for what happened, and in that sense, it's somewhat refreshing almost to have that level of candor, to where he's like, yeah, I'm going to interview for an NFL job. I'm not really going to apologize for it. I'm still the challenge of winning a Super Bowl is still sort of hanging over my head, and I'm interested in exploring it. And the optics of going there and interviewing on National Signing Day was certainly unique, and it's sort of an awkward sort of return for him to come back without that NFL offer, but he now has a new contract, and if there is someone that can navigate through awkwardness, I think Jim Harbaugh is that guy, because he sort of thrives on awkward and doing things sort of left of center.
Thank you very much, Scott. Appreciate your time.
Yep, happy to be here.
Scott Bell, Dallas Morning News sports editor, college sports editor, and also writes the newsletter, Substack at scottbell.substack.com, and he has newsletters, and some of them are premium, and some of them are not, and he's been around the Dallas Morning News for quite some time. Appreciate his insight from a Michigan man, because I saw there were lines drawn. I mean, it was Michigan, it was everyone else. And I saw even some of the famous names who've come out of Michigan defending Juwan Howard. And it's kind of like I said yesterday, the red states and blue states. It was black and white in some cases. But in the end, Michigan knocked down 5 games, done, regular season. And then the players who threw punches or landed punches. And then also Garb. Now there's a complaint whether a guard should have been suspended or
my complaint's Diabate. One game, that dude's out there just throwing haymakers left and right. He got one game, and that's not his first incident either. I think that one was a little light considering he had a previous issue. So, and he was awfully proud, like I was talking about yesterday. I mean, he's right up there in the camera and, calling for more and wanting more and instigating it further. And I know it was a big scrum, so there were other guys doing that as well, but he just so happened to be front and center and very clearly caught on camera throwing punches, multiple punches. So one game for him, I was a little surprised by that in hindsight. But, they dealt with it. And, you can argue all day long over who was right, who was wrong, and all of that. But it was just an ugly scene anyways. And glad they took care of it. And hopefully it's not something that happens again, because if it does, especially for Michigan, then, that will turn the heater up a little bit on Juwan Howard, because as good of a coach as he might be, and they had a really great year last year, like he said, you can't have incidents pile up. And not that he's a bad dude or anything like that, but that was one of those kind of things when you reach out and you slap a guy, like you don't get to do that a second time, a third time. There's not many Bobby Knights out there. You know what I'm saying? So, that was an interesting little fracas, and seems that it's settled down. So we'll see what happens with these two teams.
From Ray Grange, by the way, great way of putting it on the question to Scott Bell about the Big 12 proactive, reactionary move by the conference on Scott's response to the Big 12 and how they reacted to Texas and OU and the SEC. Mike Cole listening from South Central Kentucky, 58 degrees and raining. Chris in Missouri saying that it's supposed to snow.
Well, we're getting cold here in the next few hours, I believe.
It was 60-something degrees. Yeah, it's dropped in the 50s.
No, it's supposed to drop like 40 degrees from yesterday.
It's going to be in the 30s tonight and in the high 20s maybe by Thursday.
I'm not going to let that happen.
I'm ready to get out of this and start complaining about the heat. Yeah, I'm ready to start complaining about how hot it is.
Yeah, it's that time.
I've had enough cold at this point.
From Ray, by the way, I give him, Scott Bell, a lot of credit for not dodging the Michigan responsibility. Very good interview. And also a couple of great interviews. Another strong day for Sikkim. Ray, thank you very much. All right, when we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, I want to get you to a senior night. A young boy named Andy Tolleson had been a team manager for a high school. And what he did, and then also Frank Martin. Frank Martin's one of my favorite coaches to listen to. He is a quote machine. And he was asked a question about something with his players and whatever else, and it got into the media as well, which he picks on every once in a while. We'll have that as well. Mac Rhodes will join us today, by the way, at 4:20. Lovie Smith of the Houston Texans. Known him since 1983 when he was an assistant coach recruiting East Texas at Tulsa University. One other quick chat from Mike. Like I said yesterday, when somebody throws a big lawsuit after over that, and somebody goes down and start pressing assault charges, that could happen. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe somebody gets caught up, and there may be more from that. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We appreciate every second you give us every day on 365 Sports on YouTube as well.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. Richard Carr's got new and pre-owned vehicles in stock now, and they want you to take full advantage of it. So get on over to the dealership or give them a call right now to take advantage of their great prices on both premium, pre-owned, and new vehicles as well. And of course, it's been a little bit of a wait to get newer vehicles because of microchip issues across the country, across the world, really. But right now, Richard Carr is receiving deliveries on a daily basis, both new cars and new trucks. So the best way to get yours as quickly as possible, once you obviously identify what you're looking for, is to get on Richard Carr's inbound vehicle list. Contact them. They'll jot your name down, and you will get a new car or truck as they arrive. Buy a truck now and get 0% financing for 72 months for qualified buyers. If you're in the mood for an SUV, well, good news is they've got a lot of options for you over at Richard Carr. 11 different SUV models, dozens of trim options. Richard Carr's a one-stop shop for that perfect SUV. And whatever your needs are, if you're looking to be fun and nimble, well, then the Buick Encore is probably more up your alley. If you're looking for sophistication and luxury, then check out the Cadillac Escalades. Either way, Richard Carr has the SUV you need starting at $24,000. So call now, come by now, or go online to find the perfect SUV for your family. And they're also loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks. Over 10 lenders who will do what it takes to get you in a car today. 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive and trust the good local people you can count on for over 20 years in Central Texas. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza, great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Takeaway, Meyer the other way, and the throwdown.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, so we have gone over Baylor and Oklahoma State from last night. Kansas State also taking care of, TCU taking care of their business. And then tonight, that K-State Kansas game in Lawrence, Oklahoma in Lubbock against number 9, depending on what poll, 8 or number 9 Texas Tech and Mark Adams. Now, we'll have Mac Rhodes today at 4:20. We're going to try to get at some point today. Craig's got off the radar at 4:45, but Phil Mickelson released a 6-paragraph statement based on the quotes from what he had said about Saudi Arabia and that league, and then also what he was trying to do. And I had a PGA Tour golfer that yesterday said it and nailed it. That one, Phil's going to position this. He was trying to help the tour, but we all know he only cares about himself. And that he would then come back and try to be the guy that landed or threw his body on a grenade.
All you need to know is he apologized for, talking about the Saudis and saying that he didn't care about it. And then he also apologized to the Saudis.
Yes.
So
and then also what he was trying to do. And again, all right, we'll have that a little bit later on. This is from ESPN. This is off of their Twitter account. This is late in the game. A young man named Andy Tolleson had been a team manager for 5 years. He got a chance to play on senior night. Now, we see some of these. It was a young man at Nebraska who had brain cancer. Last year, who in a spring game carried the ball, and the team was like going nuts. And we see that more. We saw the great story last year from Midway football in the game at the end against Cedar Hill, when Cedar Hill was just as excited about the touchdown as anybody else could have been. But here is this is, to me, incredible, because you have to make shots in basketball. You can dribble it and all that's great. Here is Andy Tolleson, the last few seconds of a senior night basketball game. That's not it. That's not it. Here's another possession. It's incredible. And the reaction of the opponent, God bless him, was like what Cedar Hill did. Mm-hmm. And everyone's going nuts. You have to make those shots. So that to me, I like to bring some feel good. Obviously, there's some negative. But I just thought, because you have to make those shots. And the first one he made, the opponent, like almost like he was, slipping or whatever as he made the shot. That was great. I love it when they're posted up on social media. Those are the good things about social media that we see on at times. Now, Paul, how big a fan? Frank Martin, former Kansas State head coach, now at South Carolina.
I make no bones about my dislike of press conferences. Most of the time they're pretty rote. I think I was probably ruined by being at so many Jason Garrett ones that are just, how we doing, guys? Well, I mean, our focus is the Dallas Cowboys and our offensive scheme, and that's what we're going to do. So when you get one like Frank Martin, it's fun. I mean, it's interesting. The guy is a great talker. He's really sharp. He's really savvy, and he has no levels of BS about him. Not one.
I have never seen him. He's not afraid to say exactly how he feels. He has that kind of the Godfather right? He's got kind of that look. He was under, Huggins? And Baylor played in New York at Madison Square Garden in the NCAA tournament in the Sweet 16, I think it was. Wasn't it, Paul, against South Carolina when he had that great run just a handful of years ago? Got beat up pretty good.
Yeah.
Here is Frank Martin, and I don't even know what game this was. And but listen to what he has to say about his job as a coach and what he'd rather be taking a shot in a fun-loving dig at being a part of the media and yet complimenting the media at the same time.
thing I know is this. If I get involved in NIL conversations, I'm asking one of you guys for a job really, really fast. And I have no interest in being on the media. So I'd rather be a bouncer and get shot at the age of 60 than work in the media. Because it's as a journalist, you're in today's day and age, you're in a no-win situation. You're trying to get information out of me that I don't want to give, and you have to educate an audience that lives on social media that has no clue what's true and not true. God bless you, Frank Martin.
Yeah, and the funny part about that is the amount of media members that played right into what he was talking about when they reacted, and everybody that I saw reacting as though they just caught the part about him saying he'd rather be a 60-year-old bouncer getting shot and didn't listen to the rest of it.
Nope.
Yeah, and had hot sports opinions on him saying, ooh, he dogged the media, and it's like, if you listen for 2 more seconds, you see that it wasn't a shot at the media. It was in fact a compliment. Yep. And so it's like he says that, and there's people out there that can't even get that right. And so it just feeds into, the misinformation, disinformation, and all of that. I was blown freaking away when I saw that clip, and like the first 2 or 3 responses were like, oh man, he dogged the media. And I'm like, you didn't even listen to it. You clearly didn't even listen to it. So, yeah, I mean, just a perfect clip to have some of the reaction that I saw. And then there were plenty of other people who actually watched it and listened to it and understood where he was coming from. And I was just, in today's day and age, the other thing other than just shaking my head at the morons who clearly did not, still don't get the point of what he was saying, was the fact that I was sitting there thinking, well, shoot, he's probably going to have to release a press release talking about bouncers and getting shot and, whatever, because everybody's so touchy. It's like, oh, how dare you compare a gunshot? Like that kind of, I was almost waiting for that because that's how people are these days. Thankfully, that's not the case. But it made me think about it for a second of who's going to take advantage of this and call him out for making a bad comparison. But thankfully, that wasn't the main focus. And yeah, I think that's a really kind of interesting response, because I don't know how many coaches really care too much about the media. I know that they need the media. I don't know that they ever put themselves in the shoes of the media very often, though. And it's hard to put yourselves in other people's shoes. But, for every loudmouth hot take guy who's just saying stuff to say stuff, there are a lot of people that are just grinding, and all they're trying to do is just promote your product, basically, good, bad, or otherwise. And if they're promoting a bad product, well, that's your bad product. If they're promoting a good product, that's your good product. And so whatever comes with that comes with that. But I appreciate that he provided that type of insight, and hopefully most coaches out there do realize that most media is not out there trying to be about themselves, and they really are just trying to cover the stories that are of interest.
Paul, you going to add anything else?
Yeah, I mean, he's a straight look. He's telling like it is. He's being very respectful of the media, and he said, "Look, you're trying to get information to me that I don't want to give you," which most coaches don't. I mean, even the most forthcoming coaches in the world, there's one Bobby Bowden who you'd go, "Coach, is your quarterback going to come back in?" No, he's got something on his stomach and probably won't play after halftime. There's no gamesmanship with him at all there. All the rest of them do. I mean, Scott Drew's great with us. John Jakus, who sat him on, assistant coach, great with us. But there are sometimes we're going to ask him information, and they're going to withhold a little bit because they need to hold that back. And he was just saying, I don't want to give it to you, but I thought it was very respectful. Also, Frank Martin as a bouncer would work out just fine.
Frank Martin would be the one that would be in that back room with a cigar in his mouth, and you'd be like John Wick would go look for. That's a guy in the back room, or what's the one you guys? I Am Nobody, or whatever it is, or Nobody. He's that guy. He looks like he could absolutely be a kingpin, right? And I've been around not that many times. Let's say 4 to 5 times I've seen post game with him. I would love to interview Frank Martin.
I'm looking back at one of the people that posted that video, and the number of responses like, "Yeah, take it to the media." It's just like, you're moronic. Morons.
I can tell you, I've always been a fan of his. When he was at Kansas State, that was the night that they lost a game where was it Frank Walker was his name, Bill Walker, and Michael Beasley combined for between the two of them about 80 points, and they lost to Baylor and Aaron Bruce by 3 or 4 in a close game. And I was doing PA that night because Derek Smith had softball to do. And so I was genuinely afraid for my life most of the game because he was on a tirade against the officials, and I was really close to him. And, and when you're the PA announcer and something happens for Baylor, you got to, Aaron Bruce, all that. So I'm like, man, I'm this guy's enemy now because he was so mad because he had 2 players who were scoring and then the rest of his team wasn't. And then the post-game press conference, he could not have been more avuncular and that's how it goes. And yeah, I was fired up, but we've got 8 games left and here we go. And he was very frank about everything, no pun intended, but I was like, oh, okay, good. I thought he was going to murder some of us down there. But
I really enjoy him. Now, the Lem 30, sorry we disappointed you. This podcast going downhill like the NBA dunk contest. Lem 30, especially for you, because you asked for it. Lovie Smith will join us today at 5 o'clock. I hope you stay long enough, even though you apparently may not be and might be gone. From Mike Bean, Baylor had to implement a gimmick defense last night. I saw a lot of zone. That's what won the game for them.
Yeah,
I think that ended up keeping them from they were on the verge of that thing getting away where 8, 9, 10, 12 points in a game like that would be like being down by 25. But yeah, they did. That's what they used to rely on, and they changed when Tristan Clark was hurt in, I think, 2017 or whenever it was.
I mean, Mike might think zone is a gimmick, but Baylor ran it for a very long time until 2 years ago. It's at their core. They ran it as much, maybe even better at times lately than Syracuse has run it. And, that's what Jim Boeheim built his team on. They always run zone. So, yeah, they had to. They don't have dudes right now. They're down fellas. They can't play man-to-man all that time.
What did John Jakus say? They haven't even been practicing that, and they went to it, and there were times when they've gotten beaten up with it. That used to be their core defense when they had Corey Jeffersons and all that type of players of the world, and Quincy Acey and Epe Udoh, and then, of course, others along the way. And it got them into Elite Eight a couple of different times. And then they had to change, and they did. And they also did. But is it gimmick? I don't know if it's gimmick. It's what they had to do. And they don't have any bigs other than, honestly, than Flo Thamba. And they beat that up a little bit with what they were able to get those 10 and 12 footers, by the way, with likely making some clutch shots for the Cowboys in what was a back and forth game. All right, from the 360, and then Mac Rhodes will join us. From the 360, just looking at where we are in just a few short years, how could anyone trust the media to cover a true story without having any backlash? I do not blame that gentleman on his stance, but the media has done enough damage. It is what it is, so sad. That's why I kick it in on Sports 365. You guys do a good job. Keep it up. No, I think you also misunderstood 360 is that Frank Martin was complimenting the media for trying to do their job when people don't want to give them information, and then when people demand it on social media, that they give information when it's hard to get it. Thank God Baylor's as accessible as they have been to us through thick and, believe me, thin.
Here's the thing. People don't everything gets kind of conflated together. Like everything's in this big bubble of the media. And what makes it worse for everybody is the thing that people get their news from the most is cable news, whether it be sports or regular news. And there's not a cable news outlet, whether it's ESPN, Fox on sports, or any of the, various across the political spectrum cable news that are actually really news stations anymore. I mean, ESPN's never even pretended to have news in front of entertainment because the first letter in their name stands for entertainment.
Well, they've dived into that, the outside the lines, which at times was brilliant and at times was just political.
Yeah, and so they're not like they're doing what they think is the best that they can, which they can always do better. But people get their news so much from unreliable sources now, and there's so much noise that beat writers, for the most part, I mean, the majority of beat writers and people who are writing, that's who he's talking to. He's not talking to CNN or ESPN there, really. He's talking to his beat writers, the people who cover them all the time, and he's saying that, yeah, beat writers, they have it tough. It's not going to do you any good as a beat writer to try to beat Don Lemon or Sean Hannity. No, I mean, you have to go and do your job. So I think that's where everything kind of gets conflated with the media, that, you know, there are a lot of bad actors or people who are doing it for different reasons, and there's people just working for a newspaper or a website, and that's their job to cover something factually.
All right, when we come back, Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza, got this from Bob Mock earlier today. Give your fork something to brag about. They have pizza bowls, pizza without the crust. Try one today, $7.99, up to 4 toppings. It's very unique, and of course, pizza places. I worked at one for a long, long time. We had one thing. We had pizza. Now you have chicken wings, you have sandwiches, you have salads, you have pizza bowls, you have much more, and including, of course, the drinks as well. Medium specialty pizzas, medium one-topping pizza, and cheesy bread coming up $19.99. But pizza lovers get it when it comes to Marco's Pizza without the crust. Try one today. And also, one thing about Marco's Pizza, they have locations. They just opened up back in, December, the one in Robinson. They have a location in Belmead that delivers to our studio. They have one in China Spring and Woodway. And now they're working on a new one, a 5th store that could be opened by sometime in March in Hewitt, that allows them to even have better access and delivery to the southern part of Waco and also on I-35 towards Lorena. And that's just fantastic. Bob Mock, they had 3 stores and they're about to have 5 and open those up within about 3 or 4 months. Marco's Pizza, Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McClain County Judge Campaign.
Truck Month started early at Allen Samuels. You could get a 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with total values up to $7,500 or as little as 0% for 72 months. This month, first responders get an extra $500. Come see why Ram continues to win awards year after year. Take home power, performance, and reliability, and shop the huge new car and truck inventory in stock today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have the opportunity, if people have to pay things off, as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no-interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mac Rhodes is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
I'm going to read a couple of the chats. Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics at Baylor. Hope to hear from him momentarily. Craig's off the radar at 4:45. Houston Texans head football coach in Lovie Smith today at just after 5, who is from Big Sandy, Texas, and is probably as much of a Texan as I've ever known in all of my years of living in this great state as well. So, again, Mac Rhodes, Director of Athletics, will join us. Oh, he's back. He's with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Craig, Paul, and David Smoak. Can you try to put into, and we asked John Jacobs, words what you've seen from your men's basketball team the last couple of games with being undermanned?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a lot of words, but just scrappy and gritty and tough and perseverance and next person up. And I mean, it's been a lot, and the way we've fought through, adversity has been something. And it's a great job, number one, by those student athletes, just to find a way, and number two, just a great job by Scott and the staff. And I do think Scott's he's not the best in the country. He's as good as anybody in the country, and I think he's the best in terms of finding ways to win when you're not at full strength, and making those adjustments game by game.
Mac, on Saturday, did you think that somebody else was going to come off the bench eventually when they're playing TCU and pretty much just 6 guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it, candidly, I think it was a little bit of a surprise that Adam wasn't going to be able to play, and of course couldn't because of the knee. But yeah, I mean, you start to think about, wow, who's next, and how are we going to manage to beat a what I think is a really good and well coached TCU team. And so to be able to just fight through that one, and then go to overtime last night, and be able to walk out of there with a win, is incredible. Somebody was telling me that we're the first team to win 7 in a row in Stillwater since Kansas State in the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to do that with just a depleted roster. So yeah, we'll keep fighting.
Mac, what's it like to have College Game Day coming back to campus this time for basketball? I know they're no stranger to Waco, but obviously that KU matchup is a big one and should be a good atmosphere.
Yeah, we're excited about it. It's an honor. It's certainly an honor and a privilege, and I say that with all sincerity. And it's the conversation we had yesterday with the executive team. Let's never take this for granted to have College Game Day come to our campus, 2 years in a row for men's basketball. That's a statement in terms of our basketball program and how well thought of it is nationally, and certainly by our TV partner ESPN. And shouldn't matter if this is the second time or the 10th time. Our standard's the standard, and it needs to be a great experience every time. And so we've got staff that's, as just terrific and unbelievable, and we'll make sure that it's a great experience for ESPN. It's a great experience for our students and for our fans, and grateful for the partnership with campus and just working with our student area to get our students out there for both College Game Day and the game. And so we'll do the lock-in again at Farrell Center from 9 to 12. Come and show up, and and then you spend the night in the Farrell Center, and you'll get first access for the live show at 10 a.m. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Mac, to that end of getting students involved, once again, Sing falls on absolutely maybe the worst night that you would want it to for basketball with Kansas, the big daddy of the Big 12 for the longest time, and you guys, the reigning Big 12 champions, meeting on your home court in a key conference matchup. Can there be something done at the early part of the year, maybe before the schedule comes out, where you guys might have a veto or some kind of thing like, can we move Sing to a different date so the students aren't torn asunder as to which event they have to attend?
Well, we've had some conversation at the university level, and I didn't quite use the word veto. Not sure that would have played very, but yeah, I think, we certainly had a conversation, and we can be more intentional. It's obviously two great events, and we certainly think there's enough students, and we'll have capacity at Sing, and we'll have a capacity student crowd at the game. But just trying to be better at not forcing our students to have to make that decision.
There is a lot of discussion. I interviewed Lovie Smith today, head coach of the Houston Texans, who's been now 3 times a head coach in the NFL. And you know about a lot of the discussion about diversity, the Rooney Rule in the NFL, diversity in a lot of things when it comes to sports. But Baylor seems to be, I don't know if you're ahead of the curve, but it seems as if you have a very diverse staff. I know Marcus Sedbury's now gone, and you talked about what kind of a hit that was. Is that something that others are noticing? It's not like you're going to raise your hand and go, hey, look at our staff.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing that up. I mean, when we arrived on campus 5 years ago, we were very, very intentional about diversity on our staff, and particularly our leadership staff, and then continuing to grow that throughout our department, and then obviously looking at it throughout our sports programs, and I'm a big believer, always have been. We did this at Akron, we did it at Houston, we were in the process of doing it at Missouri. It just makes you better as an organization, and you think about the makeup of your student athletes, and every place I've been, you have a really diverse group of student athletes, and I feel like as a staff, we need to represent that as best we can, and making sure that we're connecting with all of our student athletes. So we've been intentional. It's important to us. It's part of the fabric of who we are. And look, there's always room for growth. And one of our operating principles, and we've talked about this, is we have 6 core operating principles, and one of those is treat everyone with dignity and respect. And that's something that we try to be intentional about and work at each and every day. And again, certainly we have room for growth, and we're not perfect, but it's something that will always be a priority for us, and we'll be intentional with.
Mac, what was it like to see some of the spring sports starting to get underway now?
Yeah, it was great to experience them. And you think about spring sports, you certainly think about outdoors, and so to be able to go to baseball, and I know that was a tough opening series, but I think there were some positives throughout the 3-game series, and some things for Coach Rodriguez and the staff to build on, and I think we're going to have a really good baseball year, and to see softball compete against Oregon, which I can't remember if they were 12th or 13th in the country, but compete at a high level to watch them. And we've got tennis and soft and both golf programs in gear, and equestrian finished up their we had the senior recognition on Friday, so just a lot going on, acrobatics and tumbling, and I'm trying to make sure, there's just so much. We've got indoor track and field at Big 12 championships this weekend, so this is a fun time of year, and it's just great to be part of it.
Baylor Director of Athletics Mac Rhodes with us Tuesdays, in the 4:00 hour. Last time we spoke with you was a couple of weeks ago, and since that time, there's this football coach you have who signed an extension quite a long time ago, but also then it became official. And I know people were getting antsy. And we were bothering the hell out of you. How much was that nice just to get that out?
Yeah, I think it was just nice to get it out. And I promise you, we weren't trying to do, anything necessarily creative with it or intentionally withhold. I think I said it publicly once, maybe not, but the extension was executed on January 22nd, and we probably had everything completely lined up, agreed to, paperwork, all of those things prior to going into the Sugar Bowl, and just didn't want it to be a distraction or a topic of conversation. His side had to look at a couple things just from tax perspective, but we've been in a good place for a long time, and again finally signed on the 22nd, and then we held it. We wanted to announce all of the staff changes and enhancements, and that's who Coach Aranda is wanting to see about everybody else other than himself. And so we finally just found the right spot to announce it, and certainly excited for him to have the additional years, 7 more seasons, and one of the things that didn't talk about, but he has the opportunity to earn an 8th season as well within the contract, and I think it's fair, and I think it's competitive, and if you ask Coach, he would tell you the same thing, and so we're in a really good place, and just grateful that we were able to get that done.
There are coaches who are good at deflecting and distributing the attention among their staff and the players and all that. Coach Drew among them. There are coaches in the world who are desperate for attention only on themselves all the time, all across the college sports spectrum. But I don't know if there's somebody I've ever encountered who wants less attention for themselves individually than Dave Aranda.
Yeah, I would. I'd agree with you. He's unique in that way, and I don't think he'd mind me saying this. I hope not, because I'm about ready to say it publicly. But I think just attention on him makes him uncomfortable, and he's just that type of person, and I think that's why you'll see players run through a brick wall for him, because they know they trust him. And they know that every conversation they have with him is genuine, and that he cares about them. And again, it's about others, and really doesn't want it to be about him. And I'll say this in fairness to our other head coaches. I think that's one of the things that makes Baylor special. We have a lot of head coaches like that, and you've heard me say it before. No one person is bigger than this institution. Certainly starts with me, but got a collection of coaches that really believe that, and they live that out. It's the way they treat other people and coach their student athletes. And so it's a great group of head coaches.
Hey, Max, since the last time we talked to you, we know now the college football playoff is not going to be expanding. I know Bob Bowlesby's commented on kind of the process throughout, but no expansion for the college football playoff, it appears, for at least the next 3 seasons. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think just raw, disappointed. I think it's I think it's a missed opportunity, and I think people go immediately to the money piece, but I really believe that the expansion was going to make college football better, more excitement toward the end, more meaningful games. The last couple weeks, 3 weeks of the season. So that's probably my raw emotion. I do think the change in commissioners and recent change in commissioners and in 3 of the Power 5 conferences certainly played a role. I think, just the craziness right now, the unprecedented times in the NCAA, the transfer portal, the name, image, and likeness, Alston, antitrust, all of that played a role. What I don't know is I don't know that we're going to solve any of those things, and then all of a sudden there's going to be this perfect window to now think about and focus on expansion. So I think those things are still going to be, things that we're going to be working through, even in 2025 when you start thinking about, 2026. And so, I wish, I wish it was, there was a different answer than we're going to wait until the current 12 years expires.
On the chat room, I want to share this with you, and I know you got to go, and we always appreciate the access from Ray Grange. Mac is awesome. As a former Missourian, I'm glad he was able to get past the Missouri bad timing of that situation and found his niche at Baylor as an exceptional leader, as I've heard from others as well. Sharing that with you.
Well, that's nice of him to say. And we God put us in Missouri for a particular reason, and it was to navigate some really difficult times. And I'm grateful for the experience. I'm grateful for that opportunity, and grateful for the people that we met and we call friends. And then, I'm most grateful that God called us to come to Baylor.
Thank you, Mac. Baylor's Director of Athletics, Mac Rhodes, with us on Tuesdays, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. We'll have Craig and Off the Radar. Jack McKenzie in the background today, Off the Radar himself, along with Armstrong Sims, but without them, we're not here. And our great sponsors and partners, Sikkim 365 Radio.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman, with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room, and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% with $5,000 down, cash or trade. TTN Electric, see dealer for details.
The New Year, New Ride sales event continues at Richard Carr. Find pre-owned deals like a 2015 GMC Acadia or a 2016 Honda Accord for $227 a month, or get a 2019 Ram Tradesman truck for $333 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. Get top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always the goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar. Tuesdays and Thursdays at around 4:45, we take a look at a variety of stories across sports. Get the fellas to give me their thoughts on some things that, in some cases, like my first story I'm going to mention, I know that we would definitely be talking about at some point and maybe still talk about some more later on. And in other cases, I know that we're definitely not going to mention probably some notes. So it's kind of a mixture of those types of things. But how about we start off with Phil Mickelson? I know you guys have been chomping at the bit to discuss this. He put out a long statement today, about 6 paragraphs, discussing his comments last week about the Saudi tournament. He was talking with Alan Shipnuck. And what's very interesting is Phil put out this 6-paragraph explanation for where he was coming from, and it got into like the struggles he's been through in life, and it went kind of all over the place, quite frankly. His incredible partners and the changes the PGA needs to make, and he was misquoted. And the first part that really stuck out to me, because I just happened to see the first response, which was from Alan Shipnuck, the interviewer. So I saw Phil's statement, and then I saw that reply before I read the entire statement. And in the very first paragraph, Phil says, although it doesn't look this way now given my recent comments, my actions throughout this process have always been with the best interest of golf, my peers, sponsors, and fans. There is the problem of off-record comments being shared out of context and without my consent, but the bigger issue is that I used words I sincerely regret that do not reflect my true feelings or intentions. It was reckless, I offended people, and I am deeply sorry for my choice of words. I'm beyond disappointed and will make every effort to self-reflect and learn from this. Alan Shipnuck said, no, it was not off the record, and I'll have more later. So there you go.
I've got it here, Craig.
Okay,
I've actually got a couple of different things.
From Shipnuck?
Yeah, from Shipnuck about our boy Fig Jam.
Hey, by the way, if you go to the second part of that statement, Armstrong, I just sent you the link to both of those images. Maybe if we get to the second part of the statement, if we do, you'll have that as well. Paul?
Alan Shipnuck did a mailbag on his website today, and thefirepitcollective.com. Have you heard from Phil? Send me a text this morning after the excerpt dropped. He was less than thrilled. Just as in the statement he released on Tuesday afternoon, Mickelson made a half-hearted attempt at revisionist history, trying to say ours had been a private conversation, but I shut that down real quick. He knew I was working on a book about him and asked to speak, saying he wanted to discuss media rights and his grievances with the tour, both of which inevitably led back to Saudi Arabia. If the subject of a biography phones the author, the content of that conversation is always going to inform the book, unless it is expressly agreed otherwise. Not once in our text or when we got on the phone did Mickelson request to go off the record. I never consented to it. If he had asked, I would have pushed back hard. Yeah, here's another thing. By the way, KPMG US, Phil Mickelson's longtime sponsor, and Phil have mutually agreed to part ways.
Well, okay. And that might not be. I mentioned that when we mentioned his comments and quote about Saudi Arabia and some of what they said. Craig?
Yeah, he, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's too long, but he did say, I've made a lot of mistakes in my life and many have been shared with the public. My intent was never to hurt anyone, and I'm so sorry to the people I have negatively impacted. This has always been about supporting the players in the game, and I appreciate all the people who have given me the benefit of the doubt. It goes on and on. He talks about his fans some more and all that kind of jazz, but, you remember his comments last week, right? He's like, yeah, they kill people and there's genocide and everything, but we got to teach the PGA a lesson. Like, that was the basic gist of his statement last week. And I was saying this during the segment, and I was just shaking my head at, just the audacity. I don't know. That struck a wrong chord with me, and I wasn't, upset and cancel feeling all that, but I was just like, does he not realize, how bad that comes across, what horrible. He said? Now he's backtracking, and not surprising, or not really backtracking.
A current veteran PGA Tour player who I mentioned a couple of things he told me yesterday. When I showed him a piece of that Mickelson statement and then Brandel Chambly blasting Mickelson, all he said back to me was called it. He said that. I mentioned that yesterday, and he said I called it. So there we go.
Yeah, so Phil Mickelson is sorry for his comments, deeply sorry for reckless words about the Saudi League, and he's claiming that they were off the record. But Alan Shipnuck, the author of that Phil Mickelson book, saying no and debunking that. So, we'll see. Like, where does the Super League go from here, guys? I mean, if you've got, top players who you were suspecting might be jumping over that are no longer jumping over. You've got Phil now backpedaling a little bit on his statement. Where does this thing go? Is this the Soccer Super League all over again, or is this thing going to get off the ground and we're going to see some big-time players involved with it?
No, I think this feels like the Soccer Super League all over again. And, they might be able to do a couple events going over there, but I don't think that they're going to get. And the other thing is that the youngest guy I think they had initially committed or had said he was going over there was Adam Scott, who's 41.
Yeah, it was going to be older, vet who are kind of, I saw how somebody put it, where not old enough for the senior tour, but not young enough to still be at the top of the heap in the regular PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Would kind of be the crowd that would generate.
Adam Scott, I think, has won 2 Masters championships. He's an incredibly gifted golfer, very well liked and respected. But he's not going to draw flies. I mean, with what they need to be able to do. So if they didn't get Dustin Johnson or Justin Thomas or John Rahm or Mickelson or whoever else, along with the others, this thing went off the tracks pretty quickly because it looked like there was a little bit of traction, then poof, it just like a bad train wreck. That kind of money, they can find a way to continue. It'll be I think this is the second time that Greg Norman has tried to do things like this. And both times, an unbelievable, my favorite golfer forever until Tiger showed up. It doesn't look like it's going to end very well.
Yeah, and the one other part about that, and we'll move on to another story, was at the very end of the statement, he does mention taking some time away. So he said he's going to take some time away. He's felt pressure and stress slowly affecting him at a deeper level. I know I've not been my best and desperately need some time away to prioritize the ones I love most and work on being the man I want to be. So that was Phil.
Well, he just did win a major. But so he's been pretty darn good on the golf course the last year. But I do think, and part of this is, Phil has never been booed before. He's a fan favorite. He winks and gun. Everybody who yells, "Hey, Phil," when he's walking down the fairway. I've seen it a couple times at different events that I attended. He's never been booed before. And what was going to happen when he teed off at that first event after this? Dude was going to get booed a little bit. And I don't think he wants to deal with that.
I think I could tell that at the British Open many years ago, good friend, great friend Eric and his father-in-law, the late Burley Lamb, they were at the British Open. And 2 players walked in. 5 players were there. It was like a pub. So guys were having beers or whatever. They were having appetizers or whatever. And Tiger walked in. And it wasn't like everyone got up and, they were cordial. He was cordial. It was not like he was, you hear about him being a little aloof. It was not like that at all. Phil walked in and Eric asked a PGA Tour player, John Rollins at the time, about it. And John Rollins said, listen, he's not that liked. That there's a Teflon about him that fans see, but the players see inside the clubhouse. And this is kind of what the tournament PGA Pro said as well about him yesterday when I asked him about those quotes from last week.
Well, and I think that's very clear, and just hearing some of the other golfers make little comments over the last week or so since he made his comments, like they've kind of like, oh, that figures, or, whatever. So, yeah, anyways, that's Phil Mickelson on his comments from last week and apologizing sort of for those, but also saying he's going to take some time away. The Olympics are over. If you weren't watching them to begin with, you may not have noticed, but I did see some different parts over the last couple of weeks, and the ratings are in, and they were quite low. Lowest Olympic ratings in quite some time. The 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing, smallest primetime audience since NBC Universal started broadcasting the games, according to figures released by NBC. NBC said nightly coverage of the Beijing Games attracted 11.4 million primetime viewers, a 42% drop from 2018 in Pyeongchang, which had an average of 19.8 million viewers. Closing ceremony drew under 7 million primetime viewers, which I can't imagine that's a number that they were really hoping for, under 7 million people.
Yep.
Streaming service, however, Peacock got its best 18-day period of usage during the games, attracted an average audience of 516 users in primetime. Like, I guess that's better news, but like that's still not a very great number to really be all that excited about. Like, oh, wait for the streaming numbers to come in. It's 500,000 people. Like, that's not what you were looking for, I don't think. But
well, and that's surprising given that they're where you can go watch old episodes of like Yellowstone and The Office. I mean, that's where you can watch The Office and Parks and Rec now. So I bet you that probably barely beats that.
Yeah, and I'm looking and it's not specified. Yeah, it's just saying Peacock, so I don't think that's specifying the Olympics. You're right. It might even be like half of a million. Yeah.
Given how many people love to watch The Office as their kind of go-to relaxing show. Look, two people in this room, as a matter of fact, I know like to do that. The Peacock is the only place you can do that streaming now. So
yeah. Yep. Well, they had over 2,800 hours of coverage. There were a bunch of different storylines, but obviously some of the bigger storylines were all behind the scenes and worldwide and continue to be. An average of 1.4 million primetime viewers for USA Network. And, of course, they were happy about, the work done and all of that, and they put a positive spin on it as far as that goes. But, yeah, a 42% drop from the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang. And on top of that, the lowest average since NBC took over as the exclusive broadcast network since the Summer Games in '88 and the Winter Games in '02. That's the kind of territory they're dipping into with this drop. So there was your Winter Olympics finale. And in terms of the medal count, the final medal count, Norway, 37 overall medals. That was the best by 10 over Germany, who finished with 27 medals. Norway also had the most golds with 16. China and the U.S. finishing wait a second, that's not right. That was wrong. Okay, Norway finishing first with 37. That's why it had the column switched up. The country that's threatening World War III right now finished second with 32. Germany 27, Canada 26, U.S. 25, so good enough for fifth. They had 8 golds, 10 silvers, and 7 bronze.
I don't have the history, but I know that there was once or twice when maybe the United States had the most overall medals. The Winter Olympics is more the rarity because we listed the all-time leaders. Mm-hmm. But that's probably about on average, even with some of the catastrophes of the downhill skier. But that's about what they get. Yeah, I
don't know what the average is. I mean, the top 5 finish, I'll take that. It's better than like being in the middle of the pack. I don't recall either what it typically is, but I wasn't expecting them to go and beat Austria and Canada and Norway and a lot of them and many of these sports. Not really. We're more of a summer, I think, type of country.
If we ever lose the medal count in the Summer Olympics,
that's where you get a little concerned.
I get really miffed.
Yeah. All right, baseball news. Nothing on the season because that's not happening anytime soon. There's nothing going on there.
They're meeting this week. So.
Oh, great. They've been doing that for weeks and nothing's come of it. But an interesting jersey retirement announcement. The New York Yankees have announced they are retiring Paul O'Neill's number 21 jersey and will do so on during a ceremony on August the 21st. That is, of course, keeping in mind that baseball's playing in August, which we don't know for sure if that's going to happen, but let's assume that they are back together at that point. Then on August the 21st, Paul O'Neill will become the 23rd player in Yankees history to have his number retired. The most recent was Derek Jeter, who had his number 2 retired back in 2017. And they've got a long list of, they by far have the most retired jerseys. The whole top 10's taken at this point, including 2 number 8s. Like a lot of the 20s are taken, and there's still some numbers available. But yeah, 27 numbers now retired, 23 numbers now retired, and Paul O'Neill's number 21 will no longer be worn.
What?
And so, this led to, I saw some Twitter debate about this. Paul O'Neill, great Yankee, totally beloved by that fan base. Really good player.
He's on the TV network now.
Jersey retired?
No. Look,
I'm sorry.
Look, part of this is I think people are nostalgic, but he was on a great episode of Seinfeld where he
who gives two blanks?
But no, I'm telling you how this feeds into it. Is that he's on the TV network. He's one of the Yankees who was on Seinfeld. So people love him. So people love him for all this other stuff. But like when you look at Paul O'Neill is going to have a monument next to Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I mean, no. Yeah.
Yeah, I look.
That's passion right there. Just pure like watermelon right there. I when you were mentioning that, I was like, is this... No, he's not going to have his jersey.
Yep, number 21.
With due respect, he was a clutch player, hell of a player, played with the Reds a lot too, but that surprises me. Okay.
But Bernie Williams doesn't have a monument. He was a better player at that same time than Paul O'Neill. So I don't know. I mean,
he played 17 years, played about half the career in each city.
Yep.
Finished with
he was a big-time Red.
Hits. Yeah.
Big-time Cincinnati Red. And I know he's beloved, and there's been a lot of people I've seen that have drummed up like his final game and the big chant that was going for him when they were playing the Diamondbacks, and you knew that it was going to be his last hurrah. And that was a great moment, and he was very well beloved. But Jersey retired. I don't know about that, but that's going to be coming a little bit later on. I mentioned the Olympics a moment ago, and I just wanted to make mention that this is the anniversary of the Miracle on Ice. Now, I was not alive when the Miracle on Ice occurred. I've seen the movie. I've seen plenty of clips and all of that jazz. But your memories, I thought this would be a nice time to reflect on y'all's experience or what you remember from the 1980 Miracle on Ice as they celebrate another anniversary this year, February 22nd, 1980, when that went down U.S. over Russia.
I was on the campus of Stephen F. Austin. I was a junior, and I was in my dorm room, which was kind of the units. It was kind of one of those where you had suite mates, but it was a one-story dorm. I'm watching. Back then, they didn't play that live, and all of a sudden, SportsCenter had only been maybe a year or two, and I saw the report about the United States had beaten Russia, and I lost my mind that happened.
Soviet Union.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the miracle. Absolutely the miracle of all upsets of all time, and could not wait to watch it later on that evening, and that was a spectacular moment.
Soviet Union won.
And
Soviet Union won.
What a lot of people thought about.
He's working on number 2 right now.
What a lot of people thought about is that game was the semifinal game. That was not for the gold medal. They had to win another one, but no one cared at that time.
Yeah.
Mike Eruzione, Craig was the goaltender. Man, that was an incredible deal.
Yeah, so that today is the anniversary of the Miracle on Ice, and very fitting with what all's going on right now. 42 years. Does that feel a little weird to hear that?
Yeah,
42 years since the Miracle on Ice.
Yeah, because it means I'll be 42 in a couple months.
Oh, yeah, right. That line's right up. Yes, so there you go. Yep. That's a nice reminder there.
Yeah, every year I hear that the Miracle on Ice has an anniversary, I'm like...
Yeah. Just a couple more notes. Matt Rule, when he was at Baylor, I remember you talking to him a couple times, and he thought that it would be a good idea if there was some type of a way for teams to be able to practice against one another and do so in the spring or in the summer. Well, the MAC is asking the NCAA to consider a proposal that will allow FBS teams to hold NFL-style joint practices starting in 2022. It would be a part of their regular training camp schedule and one of 18 allowable practices. There'd be a time limit, no more than 75 minutes. But the proposal reads, student athletes in many sports other than football have an opportunity to test themselves, yada, yada, yada. A joint practice with another institution during the preseason would allow football student athletes an opportunity to prepare for the upcoming season. So, now an NCAA proposal, NFL-style joint practices during fall camp between FBS schools that will be voted on in April.
I have asked this question for years. I mean, years and years and years. I remember one time asking Art Browse this question. Why do you not have scrimmages with other schools, whether it's in the spring or in August or whenever? And I know that there was a concern about injuries and whatever. You can do that right, and you're going to have injuries. It could be a practice, could be a walkthrough. But I've always wondered why college football programs did not. Basketball teams have these so-called secret scrimmages. I don't know why football teams, if you're not going to play a team, why you wouldn't want to do that as well.
Why can't they be secret too? I mean, you know.
Yeah, like, hey, Duke and Baylor just had a tussle, in their whatever. Yeah, I mean, that happens all the time. High school scrimmage.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, they don't, I guess joint style practice is a little different.
College football is this one unique sport that when everyone else, and this might be college athletics in general, but when everybody else does a thing a certain way, college football will say they'll never work here. And they'll say, and you go, why? Well, reasons.
They're always the most stubborn.
It's too much to get into right now.
Yep.
Your brain couldn't handle it.
Final thing for you. The Rock is the co-owner of the XFL. This came out yesterday, but they are teaming up with the NFL, but not in the way that you think that they are. They are not set to become the new minor league. It's nothing along those lines just yet, but the XFL, who is still in the process of even getting back to playing games, which is set to start next year. But they are in that process right now. They had to get it out of bankruptcy. Rock took it over with business partners. Well, they have struck a deal with the NFL where the XFL will test new initiatives like on-field technology and rules changes, proposed rules changes, and will even become sort of a trial run for new officials that could eventually join the NFL. And that will be kind of the NFL's testing ground now to try out officials, to try out on-field tech, to try out rules changes. They're going to do that through the XFL and see how it goes. And The Rock made it very clear in a statement. This is not a partnership as though the XFL is the new minor league. It's not that. It's just they are partnering on this specifically. Could it expand to some other things eventually? Perhaps, but this is the basic gist of it. So don't go and take it and say, oh, well, they're now NFL 2.0. And it's not like that. But it is interesting that they are going to work together a little bit.
Well, they will make it then. If the NFL is going to be a supportive part of this, then there's a much better chance they will make it. Daryl Johnston, of course, has joined us on the new, USFL and good people around that.
I'd like to see the
draft coming up.
I'd like to see the XFL and the USFL play a championship game.
Cross league, like the SEC Big 12 Challenge kind of deal. So I mean that's at least a good sign for them. XFL again, a little over a year away, but I think with The Rock and his ex-wife Danny Garcia, who's one of his business partners, those two do nothing but big money deals. And I'm sure if anybody could fix it, it wouldn't be Vince McMahon or anybody else who's owned leagues before. The Rock could fix it. Like, if anybody's going to do it, it would be The Rock. So we'll see how it goes. But they are at least getting a little bit more done NFL-wise than Vince McMahon did in his couple years.
USFL draft, in fact, is going on, I believe, right now.
I think it's tonight.
As well. Craig, great stuff. A lot of different on the chat room. From the chat room, Rich Boone. As someone who loves to ski, I did not watch any of the Olympic Games. Not deliberately, just honestly, I don't have the interest. Mike Cole. I remember those days. There was no games during the week on TV, and there was no cable. I was bringing up the fact that I used to watch games on a battery-operated black and white transistor TV with the ears and all that. And then also, there's a couple of people just saying they did not watch the Olympic Games.
I watched more with my family members this past weekend than I watched in the previous 2 weeks that it was on. There was one night I watched a little bit of snowboarding just on my own and maybe a couple things here and there, but for the most part, it was background if it was even that for me. And I think it's just kind of everything all together that makes me feel that way.
It was so awkward. The Super Bowl ends, dramatic ending, and 6 minutes later, all of a sudden, I saw something with the NBC Olympic Games. I flipped my TV off. I went to NFL Network to see more of the postgame.
And the TV ratings-wise, that didn't even help them. The Super Bowl lead-in, if you really think about it.
From the biggest television event every year. All right, when we come back, Houston Texans head coach and someone I'm proud to know since 1983 when he was an assistant coach at Tulsa, Lovie Smith of the Houston Texans joins us next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
This is your 54th District Judge, Susan Kelly. Appointed to the court by Governor Greg Abbott, I've worked hard to manage and move the docket, even during COVID. Board certified in criminal law by the Texas Board of Legal Specialization and past president of the Waco Bar Association, you can be sure I apply the rule of law and deliver justice for all. Early voting starts February 14th, so be my Valentine and vote for justice. Keep Judge Kelly.
Political ad paid for by Susan Kelly from McClain County Judge Campaign.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Blitz is on. He won't be happy with that. Brandon Cooks, and that's a Texans touchdown.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We are now joined by Houston Texans head football coach Lovie Smith, Big Sandy's very own, member of the Texas Sports Hall of Fame and Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. Lovie, it is absolutely amazing to talk to you again as a head coach of a franchise. What does this mean to you?
Oh, quite a bit. Just being a football guy, from Texas, and getting a chance to lead, our professional football team here. Pretty special. Been a part of football. Football's been a part of my life forever. And so to get a chance to continue to do it, it helped an awful lot last year, of course, getting a chance to know some of the players, and can't wait to get started.
Lovie, did you ever think you would be a head coach again after Illinois?
You know, my glass has been kind of half full most of my life, and whenever you're, you know, I've kind of always gone by if you're in sports or you're in anything and you're in charge of a group and people feel like you've done a good job, they give you more responsibility. So if it didn't happen, David, I would have been fine, but just really blessed that it did happen.
Lovie Smith, head coach of the Texans. It seems to me, and I know the franchise has struggled, there's no question, the last handful of years, but it seems to me once you were introduced that most everybody I could see, read, watch, calm down. Did you? And that wasn't your goal, but that's who you are. Did you kind of get that impression as well?
Well, I hope that's the case. You know, every time you know, I've been blessed enough to be in charge of 3 professional franchises. You know, you normally don't get a job when everything is going, you know, along perfectly. So there are some issues that have to be taken care of. I think my personality says that, and I just have a lot of faith in what we're going to do. Feel good. You know, David, the first order of business is the staff, and really love what we're able to do staff-wise, and that gives everybody hope.
Well, and I know that has been something you've been able to introduce in the reaction and what they have said about you as well, as far as the glowing responses, which is not a surprise. What's it mean to get Pep Hamilton? I know he's been on staff, but to have him as your offensive coordinator.
And quite a bit, and we go way back, you know, and of course when I was, head coach for the Bears, Pep was then a young up-and-coming quarterback coach that was bright, knew he had a great future ahead of him. Our time, you know, from then, wanted to get on the staff with him a few other times. It didn't work out. But this time, last year, of, getting back on staff with him, and just bright, got a good mind, defensive mentality as far as, you know, tough football, run the ball, but if you look at what he's been able to do with some of the top quarterbacks that's played, really it's encouraging, and can't wait to get started.
You know, there was always this story your mom thought one day you would coach the Dallas Cowboys. Well, you're going to coach in Texas in the NFL in Houston. Isn't that kind of ironic that opportunity came up?
Yes, you know, Dave, you got a chance to meet my mother. I mean, she was a great lady, but you know, that kind of tells me she wasn't perfect, but she had she had that dream. And I think most people that, you know, grow up, you know, coaching, playing football would love to be able to lead the professional franchise of our state, one of them, and I'm getting my dream.
What means most to you? And I'm not trying to say, hey, which of these of your children do you like the most, but you're a member of the Texas High School Football Hall of Fame, and then also the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. And I know what Texas means. You are, and I've said this many times, that you are as proud to be a Texan as anyone I've ever known from my entire life. What did those things mean to you?
Oh, they mean the world. I mean, it meant, you know, just like it meant to be recognized in the Big Sandy, you know, Hall of Fame or Wall of Fame. Anytime you get acknowledged by people that you really respect, and you know, it's a special thing. And you know, growing up, there are so many great athletes that come through that are in sports and of course in football, so to be recognized that way, but a lot of times you get recognized after you've completed your job, and I feel like we definitely haven't completed our work yet.
Do you also feel like you had unfinished business the way things ended in Chicago and Tampa Bay as a head coach?
Oh, absolutely. So, as you know, your earlier question about did you think that you wouldn't get another opportunity? Of course, you're just wanting to. Everyone wants to end their career, whatever, a certain way. And I'm a long ways from retiring, but I didn't like the way it ended at either place. And we get a chance to do something about it. You know, every time you go through a situation, you learn something about yourself and things you would do differently a little bit, and maybe just things that you really believe in. And now the third time around, I feel like the best version of what who I am as a coach is what the Texans will get.
You coached under Tony Dungy. He also is someone that Dave Aranda at Baylor has leaned on quite a bit over his time. You and I, in fact, traded a couple of text messages about Coach Dungy. Have you spoken with him since all this came down?
Well, and I had a chance to speak an awful lot to many, people. Tony, of course, is a lifetime friend. And, we've been together. I kind of know exactly what he believes and how he handles every situation. The benefits I've gotten from a lifetime, over a 20-year relationship, of course, will be on display each week.
What was it like, Lovie, knowing you're a football man, when you weren't coaching football? And that's rare, but it's happened.
Well, it's a big void. When you've been doing it as long as I have. It's one thing about coaching, but, in Texas, of course, you start football at an early age, and when that's been a part of you, it's a big void when you don't have it. But that's why I'm just so glad that I don't have to go through that. That's going to, again, there's no substitute for that. And, again, just can't wait to and have a chance to just be around young people and to continue to teach. Most teachers would tell you they're going to teach until they possibly can't anymore, and I'm just glad that I don't have to.
The fan base is thirsty, and you mentioned the reason why sometimes there are coaching changes, because there has been something that needed to be done, or just sometimes it's just the way transition happens. Can you sense how thirsty the Texan fans are to not only win, but to make sure you build it right and then win?
Well, I know for sure, it's going to be built the right way. I mean, there's a standard, of course, that we have here in our Texans organization. But I've been on the opposing side of the field, quite a few times. And I know about the fan base that we have here. It's an intelligent crowd that knows football and a certain brand of football. So I just know that those days left us. This past year, David, there's a reason why we didn't fill up the stands, but it's left up to us to put a better product on the football field. That's what we can do right now, and that's what we're going about doing.
Brooks Cabina wrote an article, and, of course, I've told the story, and many have, about your relationship with your hometown and Big Sandy and those incredible teams in the 70s, and just Big Sandy and the fundamentals of life and hard work. What really does Big Sandy, Texas mean to Lovie Smith?
Well, I think just that, and when you're a coach, everything we do is based on, if something isn't going exactly the way you like, you work harder, getting up early every day, putting your best foot forward, the responsibility that comes along with being a part of the team. And I think, in some small towns, you get that a little bit. I've had a chance. I think my wife, Marianne, and I are getting ready to move into maybe house 27, I think is what it is. So we've had a chance to live in different places and be around different people from different areas. I just know in a small town, when you know everyone, there's responsibility to get it right and to do it right each day, and I still feel that pressure to get it right.
Did you really, when Coach Norman had to take some time away from practice and Gary Chalk ran the offense one day and you ran the defense, did you ever, was coaching in your blood even then?
I think as you talk to most coaches, they saw themselves coaching, at an early age. I just knew that I wanted to be around football my entire life, and the only way to do it was to be a coach. I did see it at an early age, wanted to do that. All my role models, teachers, coaches, wanted their life. So I'm getting a chance to do exactly what I wanted to do all my life.
I sent a text to Gary and I said, hey, tell me something about this situation and the opportunity that came about. And he said he felt like you might have been as excited about this opportunity as any you've gotten. Is that true?
Well, when you say Gary, we go back to grade school together.
Uh-huh.
Been together all our life. So he would probably know me as well as anyone, and I can definitely say that I can't really tell you about the excitement. When you had a chance to be in sports as long as I have and get a chance to come back and as I said, to lead our Houston, our franchise here. It's pretty special, and just want to be a part of getting a proud franchise back on top. Absolutely.
Lovie, what changed in the end? There were obviously stories and rumors and speculation, and a lot of it's not even true. But then all of a sudden, your name popped. What did you say to them? What happened? What happened that all of a sudden you were the head coach of the Texans?
Well, I think, David, anyone that has a job, you kind of interview it every day that you go out and do your job. It's not like that I just showed up at the organization, the day I got the job here. I was around throughout the process. From my time, in another role throughout last year, my opinion about how things should be done. And I think they kind of looked at my experience that I've had in certain situations, and they interviewed a lot of people. It's not like I talked to them right at the end. Of course, I was kind of involved in the process all along. So just glad that they came to the conclusion that, that I was the right guy to lead the franchise.
You were born on May 8th. You're a Taurus. I'm a Taurus, and I've always been told that Tauruses can be a little bullheaded, and that's probably me, but also dependable, hardworking, dedicated, stubborn, passionate. Does that all describe? I think it does, because I've known you long enough. Does that describe you?
Well, I think most of it does, and the stubborn part, there's a belief. I have a belief in how things should be done, and it comes out always. I'm not up and down, high, too low, and the belief on how football should be played, how, you run an organization as a head football coach. I have definite opinions about that and had years of experience to really even mold more of what I believe. And as I said earlier, and I think the Texans are going to get the best of what I've been able to learn throughout my career.
Lovie, there's been a lot of discussion about the Rooney Rule and about black head coaches or opportunities for black coaches or minorities. Why hasn't it gotten better? Your opportunity is there. We know the story about what's happened in the NFL during the many changes, not just this year, but over the years. Do you see it getting any better? Is it better, and how can it get better?
Well, a couple thoughts on that. Is it better? Yes, it's better. David, back when I first met you back in 1983, when you followed me around on signing day, I was the only black guy on the staff. Mm-hmm. Times have changed since then. We've come a long way. A lot of times, if you look at what was being fought for in the 60s, 70s, things have changed, but I think you can make big changes, and you plateau a little bit, and then you have to reassess exactly where we are. Times have changed. They've gotten a lot better, but there's a time when there were 7, 8 guys that looked like me that led NFL franchises. That's not the case anymore. So we have to take a step back and see what we can all do. The Rooney Rule is it has good intentions for, putting more guys that look like me in front of owners. And I think there are some people like me that have an opportunity to hire and fire guys and what your staff makeup. And I think that's where it starts a little bit. More young people that want to get into the coaching profession because they see the good and what it's done for them. And that's what we're trying to do here. But instead of talking about what we should do and what we haven't done, I would just say, look at who we are as a Texan organization. Look at me leading. Pep Hamilton calling offensive plays. There's not a whole lot of black offensive play callers in the National Football League. And then the rest of the staff. So that's what we're doing.
Last thing for you. You have always remained humble. That doesn't mean you haven't had times when you've had to check yourself at the door, but I can't imagine that's ever happened much with you. How has that been? How have you been able to be who you are to the core?
I don't think that you can turn it on, turn it off on who you are. And a lot of it is your upbringing a little bit and just life experiences. Who you are really kind of comes out. I would hope that people would say that about me because it's important. There's a right way to do things, And I think you can take that as you look. I go back to what I initially talked about coaching staff-wise. I mean, we have good men leading our young men. And once you get good people, everything is at your, you can reach for the stars a little bit, and that's what we're doing.
I'm so proud of you, man. I'm proud to be a friend, proud of what you've done, what you accomplished, what you represent. Thanks for your time. Congratulations.
Anytime, David. Take care.
Lovie Smith, head football coach of the Houston Texans, Sikkim 365 Radio.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Brad Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John McClain of the Houston Chronicle, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, Houston Chronicle, Tuesdays in the last half of the 5 o'clock hour, joins us on the same day that we had an opportunity to visit with Houston Texans head coach Lovie Smith, and appreciate some of the comments in the chat room about Lovie as well. John, when Lovie Smith was introduced, there was a lot of, there was almost panic in the streets. The Texans, Josh McCown, what was going on? Did he, when he finally spoke, when he had a chance to be introduced, did Lovie Smith bring calmness to everybody as far as, not everybody, but the fan base and organization?
That's a great way to put it, David, of calmness, because they've been anything but calm. It was tumultuous because they wanted to hire Josh McCown. No coaching experience beyond Rusk High School last season. And when they hired Lovie, people gave a sigh of relief.
John, can you kind of explain the timeline of events that is now percolated up around Deshaun Watson?
Let's see, Paul. His agent went for a hearing yesterday because Watson's deposition, in which he's under oath, was supposed to start Thursday. The plaintiff's attorney, Tony Busby, would have 42 hours to question Watson. And remember, he's supposed to tell the truth. And the attorney said, I'm going to use every minute. So Watson's attorney said it's not fair to depose him on every one of his accusers when all of them have not been deposed yet. So what the judge decided, the ones that Watson can be asked about in his deposition are the ones who have been deposed and have not filed criminal complaints. So there will be 9. And then at some point, Watson's attorney, Rusty Hardin, thinks we'll know by April 1st if criminal charges are going to be filed. There's been a district attorney's been investigating, Houston police, NFL. Everybody's waiting to see what the Houston police come up with. Will a grand jury indict him? And if all that goes away, then maybe he could reach those settlements and get traded. But the first day of the draft is April 28th. They would love to have him traded by April 28th. But if he doesn't reach settlements with his accusers, then it could go up to start of spring training, could go to the trading deadline, and his income goes up to $35 million from $10.54 million because his new contract extension he signed in September of 2020 kicks in, and people are like, "Oh my God, they're not going to pay him $35 million not to play, are they?" And I said, "Well, the Rockets are paying John Wall $40 million not to play." And when you think of it in terms of $35 million, you can't think of it in terms of what we can relate to. Every NFL owner gets $300 million a year just from TV. That's not counting how much they get from gambling and memorabilia. Last year they got $233 million for that. So you wonder, why do multi-billionaires line up when a franchise like the Denver Broncos is for sale and they're willing to pay $4 billion or more? Because the NFL is a cash cow, and a little $35 million is tip money to those owners.
John, in far less dramatic news, did I see correctly that Baylor legendary long snapper John Weeks will be back potentially for a 13th season with the Texans?
Yes, he is. He signed another one-year deal since John got there in 2010, signed as an undrafted free agent after he'd gone back to Arizona and was going to become a paramedic. Then he went to a tryout camp for snappers, and the rest is history. As I always say here, he is the greatest snapper in the history of the NFL. Sick 'em. And people say, well, you say that because he went to Baylor. And I said, but he's never had one bad snap in 13 years. And when I asked him about it, he's like, oh, my goodness, you're going to jinx me. I said, you started telling me that 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah. And I don't think it's going to happen. So, yes, it was good for him, good for the team, because one thing the Texans can count on is always having a good snap for the kicker and the punter.
You know, John, we had Drew Pittman on, NFL agent, kid from Houston, University of Houston, went to Belton High School. Logan Hall is a highly thought-of player on the defensive line. And we had him on also to discuss the back and forth with the NFL Combine. Will players participate as much? The bubble, I saw where that was relieved a little bit yesterday or lifted. Your thoughts about is this just a squabble, or is this going to be a problem that changes the combine this year?
No. There were erroneous reports that 155 were going to boycott the combine. What the agents wanted to do was boycott working out, and they would still go to the interviews. Every team can get 15 minutes with up to 60 players. And a lot of coaches and scouts like that 15 minutes better than watching a guy running around in shorts and T-shirts. And so they didn't like the fact they were going to be in a bubble. They tried to get the bench press moved to another day. Fact is, if a guy doesn't work out at the combine, so what? He's got his pro day. He's got private workouts. There's still plenty of workouts. And I like to say this. They have access to every snap a player's taken in college. And they watch them in every kind of situation when they're going against better players, worse players, 2-minute drills, when you're way ahead, when you're way behind, when the game's on the line. They have access to that. And I always wonder, why is it so important to watch guys throw the ball in their shorts and T-shirts with nobody covering the receivers and nobody pressuring them? I've always thought it is such a waste of time. And yet, when they do it, you'll hear them ooh and ah about the way a guy throws against air. It seems like it's just kind of ridiculous.
John, as a columnist and someone who's covered NFL drafts for a long time, will this be a difficult one to cover for the Texans because of all the stuff we just talked about, Deshaun Watson? That they could have the first round picks they have right now, or they could have a bunch more, or status quo. I mean, it's very strange.
It's not difficult because for the first time in 3 years they have their first round draft choice. Bill O'Brien traded the last 2 first round picks. He traded last year's second round picks. Right now they have 9 draft choices, including 3rd overall pick in the first round, which I believe they'll use on an offensive lineman because they have to improve their running game, which is pathetic. The worst in franchise history and the worst in the NFL. Year before, they were 31st. They bring in new coaches, new players, and it doesn't work. So now they got a new offensive line coach, George Warhop, who's been around for a long time, very highly thought of, and they need some interior guys. And so if they can trade Watson and get extra picks, great. If they trade left tackle Laramie Tunsil, great. But as it is now, if they have to just keep their 9 picks, they are going to feel like they've died and gone to heaven based on what they faced the last 2 years, thanks to Bill O'Brien.
John, in taking a look at Laramie Tunsil, what do you think the odds are that he does move on?
Craig, it's a funny thing. Tunsil's a great pass protector. He's a mediocre run blocker. A lot of that is deciding what you want to put the most effort into. He's a Pro Bowl left tackle. He broke his thumb in the 5th game. Everybody thought he could have come back, but he didn't. And that's not good. Mm-hmm. You know, you're trying to build a culture. Culture is attitude. You want people coming to work every day for the common cause, pulling together, being about the team and not the individual. Now they have new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new offensive line coach. If they keep Tunsil, they've got him at left tackle, Titus Howard at right tackle, and then they just need to work on the interior. But if they trade him, then that means they're going to have to draft at least 2 linemen. So I have no idea what they're going to do because this is phase 2 of their rebuild. And but at least we're talking about something besides prospects who are going to be available in the 3rd round.
What were your impressions of the staff that Lovie's put together?
In order to keep Pep Hamilton as offensive coordinator and play caller, it's pretty obvious they're letting him hire the coaches he wants on his side of the ball, and every one of them he's hired has been with him at one time or another. 2 or 3 of them have been with Lovie Smith at one time or another. Lovie will run the defense. Hamilton will run the offense. So they brought in 2 veteran offensive line coaches, but they brought in a veteran line coach last year, and he got run off. The year before, they had a veteran line coach. So just because they're a veteran doesn't mean they're good. What they need to do is get those guys some talent.
John McClain, Houston Chronicle, Hall of Fame writer with us on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
John, your Baylor Bears on a nice little win streak here in spite of the injuries. What have the last few games been like for you?
It was unbelievable. I'm thinking, oh, my God, I can't believe they're going to get swept by Oklahoma State. Tech, I can understand. Tech's good. And I'll tell you what I think is going to happen. Baylor is going to play Tech in the tournament, probably the semis, and Tech ain't beaten them 3 times. And I think Baylor will beat them in the tournament. But the injuries, my goodness, to see what Flagler did last night was pretty amazing. And for them to pull out that victory on the road was amazing. And I feel very good about the tournament. But man, oh man, you can't lose a guy like Chamba Chachua and it not hurt you. And if you look like last night, Akinjo scores right at the end, won the game. But what I want is Sohan and Kendall Brown to be more consistent. You know, they're not really, at this time of the year, they're not freshmen anymore. These are 2 of their top guys. They need, like last night, they didn't do a lot. They need to step up. And I'll tell you one thing about Samba. He always has to put the ball on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about what he could do if he didn't, he got the ball, they need to throw him it up high. And he turned and shot. I think I would somehow make him run laps if he touches the floor again. That's one thing Carol Dawson always taught the big man. Catch it and turn and shoot. Don't put it on the floor because you're always in the lane with players slapping the hands. But I'm really looking forward to the tournament, Big 12 and NCAA, because I get people talking to me all the time about Baylor. I got up this morning, went to a country club, made a speech at 7 a.m. to a breakfast club at 60. And 3 of them asked me about Baylor basketball and 2 about Baylor football.
John, Charlie Taylor, Hall of Fame receiver, passed away a couple of days ago. Just shot in the dark here. Curious, you have any thoughts on the late, great Charlie Taylor?
He was a receiver and a running back. And you see guys like Debo Samuel doing that right now. Charlie Taylor was doing that a long time ago. One of the best ever. He was 80, and he's going to be missed by a lot of people, including fans. It's weird to say fans of the Commanders because it's fans of the Redskins. They don't call when an Oiler dies that he played for the Titans. Mm-hmm. He played for the Oilers, and yet now you're having all these people talking about he played for the Commanders. Give me a break.
No. He is one of my, Sonny Jurgensen in that mix as well, one of my all-time Washington Redskins. That's what they were when he played Larry Brown, the running back. But Charlie Taylor was an unbelievable athlete. He was also a ferocious blocker, wasn't he, John, down the field, known for being – I can't imagine he and Ken Houston, how many times they may have gone against each other in practice, but that was like a collision in the middle of an intersection.
You mentioned Sonny Jurgensen. When I started dating my wife, Carol, in 86, and she was a diehard Redskins fan and grew up right outside D.C., I was trying to impress her, so I went and found a Redskins jersey, and I signed Jurgensen's name on the number. And I gave it to her, and she looked at it at her apartment, and then she put it on a chair and thanked me, went in another room, came back out with a real Jurgensen signed jersey.
Wow.
And I felt like such an idiot, but she said, you get an A for effort.
Hey, man, thanks for your time. John, appreciate it as always.
Thank you, guys. Don't forget,
Sickum, Houston Chronicle Hall of Famer, and John McClain.
Did you happen to read Gil Brandt's recollection of Charlie Taylor and how Charlie Taylor was a coin flip away from being a Dallas Cowboy?
No, I mean, he's from Grand Prairie, Texas. That would have been a hell of a steal because he was phenomenal. I mean, he was a bad, physical, fast, big. I mean, like you said, he was Debo Samuel well before we see what he does every day now.
Yeah, Gil wrote an article, let's see when this was, today. It was actually just got put out about 3 hours ago, called When Charlie Taylor Almost Became a Dallas Cowboy. And he talks a little bit about meeting Charlie Taylor in his office kind of early on, and it goes into some more of the background. But basically, and of course, Gil's talking about his mom, and like Gil knows and remembers everything. Like, it's amazing. But yeah, it talks about him, becoming a first-round draft pick prospect. And while he was at Arizona State.
Yep.
And it says, in those years, the draft was held during the season when games were still being played. And as of the date of that particular draft, December 2nd, 1963, Dallas and Washington had identical 3-9 records, which would mean we'd need to flip a coin to decide which team would pick third overall and which team would pick fourth. I remember flipping the coin myself in a hotel hallway with a scout named Bucko Kilroy, representing Washington. Bucko won the toss, and Washington ended up grabbing Taylor before we could. And he ran down his stats and mentioned that the 64 draft had 11 Hall of Famers, including Charlie Taylor. And Dallas, their collection that year, Mel Renfro, Bob Hayes, Roger Staubach.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean, excuse my saying that. I mean,
look,
pretty well.
It worked out.
It's okay.
It worked out.
They had to wait on Staubach for a couple of 2 or 3 years or maybe longer. Finish out his 4 or 5 and finish out his service with the U.S. Naval Academy. All right, great stuff. Charlie Taylor, I'm serious. I love the guy. Number 42 was fantastic. And also, we had lived in Tempe. My dad getting his master's degree at Arizona State, so I knew of him. Jerry Smith, the tight end, knew of him already, and then they both go to play for the Redskins. Coming up, Paul's Top 5. 5:55, just around the corner on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Engel with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed, smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. In a long business meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 things.
Armstrong, can we put a podcast on just the last commercial break? It would be vital.
Top 5 things Baylor needs to make a deep tournament run. Baylor men. Number 5, and this is obvious, a good draw. That's more than anything. Almost anybody who ever wins the tournament. I mean, occasionally you get your teams, and Baylor might have been one of those teams last year because they were so good that it almost didn't really matter who was in front of them. They were going to win. Kentucky, when they had Anthony Davis, there are very few teams constructed in NCAA history that would have beaten that team. But a lot of times, especially when the field is so wide open this year, it's going to be about your matchups all the way through. And who that is. So this is the first thing you have to have. If you get, you could be a better team than a lot of teams, on paper, but maybe the one thing that they do well is the one thing that you do poorly, and I will point you no further back than to Baylor losing to Yale. And the NCAA,
not saying they're dirty about this, they're naughty when it comes to matching up matchups. They know what they're doing with that. There's no question in my mind.
Which one was worse? Yale or Florida Gulf Coast?
Florida Gulf Coast.
Georgia Southern.
Georgia Southern.
Gosh, I don't know why Georgia State or whatever. Georgia State.
Georgia State. Okay, Georgia State or Yale.
Because that was the first one that led to the second one.
I don't know why I said Florida Gulf Coast.
Yale was pretty bad. Georgia State. Yale, I guess, being in attendance at both of them, Yale was one where you felt the whole time like eventually Baylor's going to go on like a 15-0 run here and then just going to end this because they had so many better athletes, and they just never did.
No.
And with Georgia State, even though things were going well, the one thing that was not going well for Georgia State was R.J. Hunter was well below his season average, and you just figured that there's going to be
around,
and they were hanging around enough, and you just figured there's going to be a moment where he was going to get hot, and it happened with the exact amount of time that they needed for him to have. So
yeah, you're right though. I mean, the draw is the difference potentially between like going out in the round of 32 and being in the Elite Eight. I mean, just as simply who you have in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the first time they went to the Elite Eight, they got a perfect draw for who they were.
They don't want a long, freaky athletic team.
Yeah.
Like they face a team with long bodies that are athletic. That could be some trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Number 4, which feeds into that, better results on the offensive glass. So better offensive rebounding. They have not done that all that well. And, recently, and they're still not bad at it. I mean, you say that, and this is a team that's still pretty good at it. But when they do fall behind, it's because they do not get those offensive rebounds that they used to get.
I was stunned last night after the first few minutes, and even early on in the second half, when you could see Oklahoma State starting to take control, how I was stunned at the offensive rebound. Now, the box score was wrong. They had given Baylor a couple extra, but it was pretty much even. Did it seem like it was ever at all, ever even?
No, it didn't. It didn't.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Number 3, consistency from Flo Thamba. He's their last big man. They need consistency from him, and part of that means you don't get to dribble anymore, Flo. That's it. And look, Flo, and he needs to play intense. But that's what he has to do. They need consistency from him. He is a gamer. There's no doubt about it. You're going to get everything you ask out of him when it comes to playing the minutes and playing hard. But he's got to play smarter.
He is who he is. He's not going to change who he is now, who he was 2 or 3 years ago. He does seem to have an issue for a guy that's so large, tall, and he's not frail, of being able to go up when he's underneath the basket and going up with force. It seems like he almost lets go of the ball, like his hands are not very strong, and he might be able to choke me out quickly. But doesn't that seem like that's an issue around? He's 6'8", 9'10", and he doesn't go up with enough where he's going to get fouled, if anything, even if the shot is blocked.
Yeah. Number 2, points from James Akinjo. this changes the entire scope of things. He's been playing through several different, to call them nagging injuries would maybe underselling it, but he's been playing through several different bumps, bites, bruises, whatever you want to call it. But if he can get back going offensively again, if you looked at the last couple weeks when they've struggled offensively, James Akinjo not scoring points early and often is kind of what puts them behind the 8 ball because of the kind of point guard he is. So if he can get back to scoring points, I'm not saying drop in 30 a night, but if they can get 15 points a night from James Akinjo, this team is going to be hard to beat because you're going to get it from Adam Flagler, and if LJ Cryer comes back, you're going to get it from him too.
I don't even know if that's going to happen, so that's even more reason. Yeah.
And
with LJ and what's going on with him.
Which brings me to number 1, all caps, health. They just need health. I mean, and that's a lot to ask, but those guards particularly, and those are the 3 who've been injured. Jeremy Sohan seems to have been fine since he came back from his ankle injury. He's playing well. He's
so good.
He's really smooth and really good, especially for a freshman. But if Flagler, Cryer, and Akinjo can be all healthy at the same time for 40 straight minutes, a couple nights in a row, that will help them tremendously. And it changes this team almost, even though without Jonathan Chamwa-Chachua, back to who they were before the injuries happened.
Yeah,
but it's a big ask.
Yeah, that's the big thing, and the big problem is that there's not.
Yeah, you can't lay hands on
here. Yeah,
you can't lay hands on people and say demons out, and then
wish you could. That'd be great.
In fact, Flagler, remember, tripped over a teammate's ankle yesterday and looked like he had twisted his ankle, and he went down, and he's nursing that knee issue. So they just kind of seem to be possessed in some ways. Last night, though, they played possessed, didn't they? They really did.
Yeah, that was a really good win. It wasn't it's not like you beat Kansas or anything, all due respect to Oklahoma State, but it was one that got really dicey and one that was tough just because of the circumstances heading into it. So for them to, eke that out, not lose that game and to find a way to get it done ultimately, that was a big deal. And you could tell by the reaction to it that was a big deal for them. And actually, in hindsight, I wish I could have asked John Jakus just what the locker room was like after that game. Because I'd imagine they had to be pretty proud with themselves, and rightfully so. So yeah,
I may ask,
now big test coming up this weekend. We'll see what happens.
I'll text TL from ESPN Plus and see if she can give me an idea. But I bet it was very similar to what we saw, that still photo with the players hugging the neck of all around Akinjo. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, thanks to Jack McKenzie. Also, thanks to Armstrong Sims. Tomorrow, I think Emery Winter will be back. Also, our sponsors, from behind us all the way to what you hear every time throughout the show that allow us to do this and have since April 6th of 2020. We're approaching year number 2 around the corner. And those of you who watch and listen, who participate, phone calls, chat room, text line, thank you. I'm David Smoak. Have a great evening. Stay warm. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McClain County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.